You're talking about Myron Gaines from Fresh and Fit.
Moron.
Moron.
Oh, I refuse to say his name. That video did a number on me, the death threat.
Are you serious? Today, this is going to be a little bit different. Joining me in a little bit, I have a guest by the name of Tevin Evans. He is a plus-size model based out of New York, and he recently appeared on a Jubilee episode, Middle Ground. In this episode, let me get that episode up for you all, because we're also going to do a reaction to it before we have Tevin on.
Do you think just...
And as you can see in this episode, Myron Gaines, also from Fresh and Fit right there, appeared. But the guest we're going to be having on in a little bit is this gentleman who was in the green tuxedo, Tevin. Now, essentially, for those of you who are not aware, what is the body positivity movement? What it is, as you can see, it's a social movement that promotes a positive view of all bodies, regardless of size, shape, skin tone, gender, and physical abilities. Proponents focus on the appreciation of the functionality and health of the human body instead of its physiological appearance. They did ask the question, of course, in the video, is could the body positivity movement be problematic? And I happen to agree, yes, it can be. Where at the same time, maybe it's not, right? Are we, as both men and women, of course, this episode strictly had to do with men. They did do one that did delve more into women's issues regarding their physiques. However, we're going to be strictly talking about men today, all right? And how the body positivity movement affects men. Similar to women, of course, in the 80s and 90s who were held to, certain higher standards, right? You have to be thin, you have to be toned, you have to look good in a bikini, which I certainly am not complaining about that, but are men also being held to unrealistic standards? Can we build that much muscle? Can we have a V-taper? Can every guy get a six-pack? I know for myself, the issues that Tevin's going to be discussing in a little bit, I struggled with the exact opposite. My problem was I was always too skinny, and I couldn't bulk up. Even today, at the age of 26, right? I struggle with putting on muscle mass. It's a part of my DNA. It's a part of my genetics. Now, that's not an excuse. There's always a way out of your situation. And sometimes when you hear people say, it's my genetics, it's my situation, it's the cards that I was dealt, there is a way out of it. You might have to work a little bit harder, but you're not doomed, essentially. Let's go into the history of body positivity a little bit, and then we'll react to the video, and Tevin will be joining us momentarily. As part of the first wave of feminism from the 1850s to 1890s, Victorian dress reform movement aimed to put an end to the trend of women having to modify their bodies through the use of corsets, tight lacing. Oh. Yep. I don't know a single guy that would look at that like fucking mutant over there and would be turned on by that. Fat shaming served as a seed of a larger project of accepting and celebrating all bodies and body types. As a kid that, a former skinny kid that really struggled to build any muscle, I'm not exactly, opposed to that. Let's see what these gentlemen here were able to discuss.
Being in a fat body and being in the public space encourages obesity?
Yes.
Shame is what led me to an eating disorder.
And that's Tevin, who we're going to be having on in a bit.
That's your fault.
It's
See, the
an
problem is that you're a
amalgamation.
professional victim. Would you agree, looking at his physique, he's at a perfectly, I would say, maybe healthy...
No.
I think
He's definitely overweight, definitely obese.
And yes, I will be going down to the gym after this immediately. Don't worry.
My name's John. I host the Radical Empathy podcast. I used to direct episodes of Middle Ground, but I'll now be moderating today's discussion between
Justin
Jack Man
Trudeau
and
looking
Fat Man.
motherfucker.
Our first prompt is, I have felt disgusted looking at a fat body. Can our agreeers please step forward?
By the way, let me know, guys. Do you guys like me up here, or do you like me down
Whoever feels
here?
compelled to start us off.
Well, it's unacceptable to be fat.
Okay.
That's a great start. I mean, I know why you say that, but it's one of those things where, do you know why you're saying that?
Yes, because I've been fat before and I lost the weight.
Well, me too. I've been fat my whole life. I've been way skinnier than I am now, and I've been way heavier than I am now. Was I less valuable at one point in there?
Well, I mean, you can make an argument that you're less valuable when you're fatter because you drain resources, but that's a whole other conversation. But in general, being fat is unacceptable because you control every single morsel of food that goes into your mouth.
Okay.
It shows a lack of discipline. It shows a lack of character. It shows a lack of temperance. And when you're fat, it's an outward manifestation of your inadequacies.
When I see somebody who's 500 or 600 pounds, all I can think of is, why do they care so little about their health that they can do this, allow themselves to gain that much weight, knowing it's taken 20, 30, 40 years off their life? I just can't imagine not wanting to live that badly.
I understand that. No, it's I've definitely felt disgust.
See, the thing is here, guys, nobody ever sits there and defends obesity, right? There's not a single person that's going to be appearing on the right side, which is where the heavyset guys are going to be sitting. Nobody sits there and is ever pro-obesity, right? I think they're pro-mental health. I think they're pro, getting the fit guys to understand, hey, it's not that simple, right? Your genetics can get in the way. Your mental health can get in the way. And I think that those are also important points that need to be heard. So let's continue, because right now, honestly, if I was a judge, I'd say, all right, I'm agreeing with fit guys about 60%, fat guys about 40%, right? I'm not going to be one of these people that sits here and says obesity is okay. I'm not going to be one of these people that says, severely unhealthy life practices are going to be okay. However, can we understand the reason why? I'm not pro-drug addiction, for example. I'm not pro-homelessness. I'm not pro-crime. But can we also sit and understand as we pull the curtain back and we look at that Wizard of Oz, right? What's the cause of this, basically? And I think that's the point that is important, that needs to be discussed more.
Looking at...
Oh, shut up.
So
Some
last
boner
night he
pill.
used Hims.
Honestly, nothing better than what my own body.
I know.
Looking at other
You like
fat
your
bodies
man's
in my
boner
life.
pill.
A lot
That's
of
not what
the
we're
disgust
talking
I
about.
felt looking at people was me feeling disgusted with myself, and then projecting that feeling onto other people. And I don't think anyone on either side will disagree that health is important. I know that my own mental health was way worse when I was spending every fixate of my life trying to get smaller and trying to be thinner.
Yes.
I don't think there's anyone that can look at somebody 500, 600, 700 pounds and not think, wow, what have they done? And not be disgusted. Like, how can you not? I just can't understand.
You can't assume that everyone has the same opinion, though, because unfortunately, some people have emotional stuff that happened, traumatic stuff that's happened, so you can't discount and just say, oh, because they're fat.
There's way worse stuff going on in the world versus
Absolutely.
people saying, oh my God, I'm sad, I'm going to eat some ice cream. It's like, no, dude, it's like, you're fat, you made that decision, you live in the best country ever. If you live in a civilized first world country where you have electricity, internet power, etc.,
Yes.
you deserve to be bullied. It's ridiculous to me.
Well, no,
that
you
we have
don't
all these
deserve
fat
to be
people running around.
bullied.
Meanwhile, people are being bombed in Gaza.
Okay, people are being bombed in Gaza. All right, 100%. I don't even think that this right here goes into a body positivity issue versus fit versus fatness. Okay? I don't. I think this is now at this point an American problem. We are a notoriously spoiled country. All right? I honestly don't know, with all of the wars and all of the terrorist attacks, how those in places like Israel or Gaza or Ukraine, I don't know how they get through their day-to-day lives. I really don't. So if you want to sit there and have the argument that Americans are incredibly spoiled and we are incredibly unaware of the issues that are occurring around us every day, I am 100% with you in that conversation. But at the same time, to sit there and say that, first off, you deserve to be bullied. Because here's the thing. You might be on the fit side, like Myron, like Greg, and you might have this, visceral reaction of disgust to obese people. And you might be disgusted with their choices, and you might completely disapprove of the way that they live their lives. However, what if they too would like to join you on a fitness journey? Do you think that they're going to be receptive to changing if all you do is bully them? And that's what I want. I'm not one of these people that says, oh, you're fat, that's cool, you deserve the same amount of, you deserve like the same to be perceived as, as good looking as someone who is in good shape, right? I'm not saying that. But the fact of the matter is that these guys do want to change. When you bully them and when you push them away, you're not doing anybody any favors. And the amount of obesity is only going to continue. Because at some point, these guys struggling with their weight are just going to go, well, fuck it then. You're going to disapprove of me, regardless. Why am I trying to get in shape for you then? So I think that's completely the wrong approach. There is a right approach. That's just not it.
It's ridiculous. We are so privileged here in the United States.
And he's right about that, though.
When I see a fat person, I'm like, wow, you got the gift of life. You got the gift of being in a developed country, and you're a fat POS talking about body positivity on TikTok. What the hell is going on?
Now you're segmenting, though, because not everyone thinks like that.
No, we need to bring shaming back.
Okay.
We need to bring shaming back in so many other regards besides obesity. We need to do it with sluts. We need to do shame. We need to shame everybody when they're fat. Because shame has been one of the strongest defenses against degeneracy and human.
With sluts, unfortunately, once you go down that path, there's no going back. So again, totally different segment, though.
Sure, you said you used to be overweight. Now you're...
Oh yeah. So I did an experiment back in like 2015. Where I like bulked for like almost 2 years, and I got up to like 250 pounds, and then I dieted down. It took me about 7 months. I systematically did it, controlled my calories, tracked my macros, tracked my protein, carbs, fats, and systematically lost 1 to 2 pounds per week.
So you chose to gain up to 250.
Yeah, so I've been in all sorts. Like I'm naturally skinny.
Yeah.
And then I was like, all right, I'm gonna get fat as an experiment.
Yeah.
Did it, and then I was like, all right, now I'm gonna lose the weight. And then all I did was just track my calories, ate the same food every single day.
Yeah.
Went to the gym 4 or 5 times a week, and everything was controlled, and it got done. Was it monotonous? Of course. Was it boring?
I agree with you there.
Yes, it is.
I am naturally this way. This is with working out 4 or 5 times a week.
That's not true.
This is 100% true.
No, it really genuinely, guys, it might be true. I'm telling you, as someone who struggled with the exact opposite problem, it might be true. He might not be lying when he sits there and says that, okay? There are people, their genetics have just fucked them over. Completely cursed them for life. You know? And honestly, while Myron Gaines is a great guy, at least when it comes to discussing gender issues, when it comes to discussing the dynamic between men and women, particularly among Gen Z, I don't think he's 100% right on this one. I really don't. He's not there with this guy, Zach, in the gym every day. He's not there watching him every day. He doesn't know what he is going through, right? For all you know, and we don't know this, Zach might be able to get down and deadlift 500 pounds. That's more than I can deadlift. I can deadlift about 300 on a good day, right? Zach might genuinely be able to handle more than even me, than even Myron. You just don't know that. So no, there are people who just genetically are cursed. Now, in your own personal life, when it comes to what you consider as attractive, you do have a right to say, I don't fuck with fat people. I don't fuck with fat women, right? I just don't, and I have the right to say that. If a woman wants to say, well, I don't fuck with skinny guys, cool. She has the right to say that too. But in terms of assuming that Zach isn't doing the work at all, we just don't know that. And that's the thing that I'll never pass judgment on. And I'll always, if I ever meet someone who is too scrawny trying to gain muscle, or too fat or obese trying to slim down, I will never bully them. I will never shame them. I will never push them away. We should be going out of our way once we achieve our fitness goals to welcome others so that they can achieve theirs too.
No, it's not natural at all, because at the end of the day, if you don't lose weight, by definition, you're not in a calorie deficit. If you're not in a calorie deficit, then you're going to either maintain or gain weight. And that's the problem, is that people don't track their calories.
And that's true, but people burn at their resting metabolic rate a different set of calories.
Doesn't matter.
Let's not get too granular right now. Ragini, it's going to be one of those episodes, right? Let's bring in the disagreeers and hear from them.
So the reason I disagreed, especially when I heard the statement, I don't think I'll ever look at somebody based on their situation and think that I'm disgusted. Like, if I see somebody that's a drug addict on the street that's homeless, I'm not disgusted by that. If I see somebody that's
great analogy,
overweight, I'm not disgusted by that. Do I think that there's an opportunity for growth? Do I think they've been put in a disadvantageous
100%, yes.
Probably makes it harder for them. Absolutely. I think I'm kind of an empath, so when I see somebody, I know that there's things underlying, and one of my best friends is 400 plus pounds. I've helped him lose 150, 200 pounds. He's gained it back. And I don't look at him and say, I'm disgusted, but I know how bad he wants it. And just seeing how hard he tries and then reverts, it's almost more tough for me than to be like, oh, that's disgusting, you know? And I think there's plenty of people that look at me and say, that's disgusting. I never want to look like that. So, like, I know what it feels like on the other side to, like, look the way I do and get people look at me like, ugh, that's gross to, like, have that muscle. And to go back to that point, like, you came from a fit place and, like, deciding to bulk, like, that's a conscientious decision to gain weight. Like you already have those habit routines and skills in order to stay in shape, and then you use those same skills you had to pull back on the calories and knowledge you had.
The reason why I use that example is that you can get fat and lose the weight if you know what you're doing and you have the knowledge and everything else like that. It's just about consistency over time. So it's like, I look at it like...
Let me cut you off, because here's one thing that you just said.
Here we go.
You had the tools. So there's people that don't have the tools that you've passed judgment on, and you have failed to realize that with the tools, people are very much capable of achieving amazing things. But
okay, let's talk about set tools.
No, hold on, I'm not done.
Well, you cut me off.
I'm not done.
Remember.
And I stood over there and I listened to you, and I was like, it's a ton of bullshit too. So we're gonna address this, right? Yeah. You are passing judgment on people who lack the tools to do what it is that they need to do to get themselves to a certain point of health. There are multitudes of factors that weighs into what goes on with somebody's body. There are people that, even if they work out, losing the weight does not come as simple as just going to the gym, cutting calories, watching everything that you eat. There are some people that have...
I can't identify with that, with losing the weight. If I sit on, if I sit my bony ass on this couch for the next 5 to 10 years, right, guys, I'm going to lose weight. I naturally lose weight no matter what I do. But, it's just, he's not wrong. Like I said, there's just people out there that are genetically fucked no matter what they do. I am one of them. I can't speak for, Tevin's struggles regarding obesity and slimming down, but I can definitely speak for my own in terms of being scrawny, bony as fuck, right? And trying to bulk up. Genetics just gave me what I got.
A disposition. I have a disposition. But does that mean that I'm not active? Does that mean that I'm not doing certain things? No, it doesn't. But you're passing judgment on somebody's body that you know nothing about. Now, on the flip side, what if I turned around and I did the same thing to you? You're talking about how fit and stuff that you are, but you're over there and you're smallest compared to these other guys. So how does that feel if someone comes... No, because you said shame.
Skinny shaming.
You said shame, right?
Yeah.
So how does that feel if someone comes up and they start shaming you for size? Like, come on. It goes both ways.
We're just in the first round. We gotta be careful about...
This is already going to be a good one in case you guys haven't seen it.
I'm not offended. It's fine. He's emotional.
It goes in every direction.
He's obviously very triggered. But yeah, so let's hit the first part. Tools. What are the tools? The tools are simply knowledge, which you can get for free on the internet. If you have the ability and the discipline to go out there and get the knowledge, then you're going to lose weight. It's just that simple. It's just that people want to always make excuses for why. Oh, my feelings. Oh, I don't know what, you don't know what people are going through, blah, blah, blah. No. You can watch your calories. You can go to the gym. You have time to do it. People just like to make excuses.
I don't think anyone's debating that weight loss is impossible here. I think the question is, why do you hate fat people, that you feel the disgust towards it?
Well, like I said before, it's a culmination of a bunch of bad decisions. I'm not going to go ahead and give the same level of respect to someone who's a fat ass to someone that has worked really hard and diligently on their physique, because your body's outward manifestations,
there's more
decisions,
factors to a human being than their body.
Well, you could judge a lot just off of someone's physique. You'd be like, okay, well, this guy is...
You can. And, for example, regarding attractiveness, right? I know this is more geared towards men, but I look at a woman who's thin and toned and fit. All right. Let's go. I look at a woman who's overweight. I'm just not into that, right? If that's your own personal choice and that's your own personal life and your own decision as to who and what you're attracted to, that's fine. But, again, do you want to keep... I don't think that shame is going to work. If you're on the fit side... yeah, I paused it when Myron was making a funny face. if you're on the fit side and you're disgusted by fat people, why not encourage them in a nice way to come join your side, right? And then they'd slim down, they'd tone up, and you wouldn't have to see fat people anymore. You keep pushing them away and pushing them away, just more people are just going to start struggling with obesity. You know, you just keep slapping people down. At some point, they're not going to respond kindly to your knowledge.
Is lazy, and that's personified through their physique. It's the truth.
Abe, I saw you wanted to say something.
Just to take it back to the prompt, I think we just kind of went all over the place there.
Yeah, we're still focusing on the word disgust.
Just the word disgust. I mean, I would never look at someone and show disgust towards them. I mean, I think I would respect, like you said. I mean, you don't respect everyone, like you said, but I think...
Respect is earned.
I mean, it is earned, but I mean, I think at a humane level...
But how do you get to that level of respect, right? Shaming people does not let them... It doesn't help them get to the level of respect that you are looking for when you will respect them. That's the problem. All right? I'm not done with my fitness goals, but if I saw someone in the gym who was overweight and they approached me, I would say, take my hand. Yes, it's not okay that you're overweight. It's not okay that you're obese. We're not going to make excuses, but take my hand. I will help you through this. I will help you get to where you need to go. That's not how you help people. All right?
We can learn to appreciate each other's differences.
Yeah, I don't know if like disgust would be the right word, right?
I know.
Greg mentioned some health implications with being overweight or obese.
Yeah.
I think
Yes.
Being concerned might be a better.
That's the word I was going to
better
go for.
word.
Like,
But
I can show concern for someone for the way that they are, but I would never look at someone and say, like, you're disgusting.
But is it any different than if you see somebody who's extremely anorexic, they're 50 pounds, you look at them and you're in shock? Oh my God, like something happens in your body you can't control. You can't stop that. Like how can you not? It's not, I don't hate them.
That's different.
It's just,
Shock,
wow,
yes.
oh my God, it's like, it's disgusting. Like, holy.
Yes, but again, be disgusted. But how do you help that person, right? Nobody has touched on that yet. How do you help that person out of their situation is the question.
Goodness
But
gracious.
why
a shock
would you use
factor, though.
the word
That's
disgusting,
not
right?
disgusting.
So you just mentioned the polar opposite of what we are, right? But why would you look at them and be disgusted versus concerned? That is a very specific word, and it has very specific connotations behind it. And when it's used, it's somewhat weaponized as well.
I don't think we can help how we feel. I don't think I can choose like, oh, I just am not. It would be sitting here and lying. I'm not going to sit here and lie. I'm always going to be honest with people. I'm disgusted. This is just how I feel.
The thing is, when you see a fat person,
But what is it you want to change about that person, right? If you look at someone's life choices and you just go, you're disgusting. How will that person respond positively and fix the thing in their life that disgusts you? Nobody's been able to actually, build that pathway from fatness to fitness.
the reason why it's disgusting, and the reason why there's so much pushback on this whole body positivity, and people make fun of Lizzo, rightfully so, by the way, is because it's
That I agree.
unattractive, it's unhealthy. Until we had this woke era, they used to put models and attractive people on the cover of magazines that were in shape. Why? So that people can aspire to look like that. And it's healthy, and it looks better in general. You look good, feel good. But when you're fat, it says a lot about you. People aren't going to sit there and be like, let me see if he's a good person. No, they're just going to assume that you're lazy, which you are, by the way, when you're fat, and you don't have discipline, which you are, by the way. So they're just going to assume off of what they see. But that's the world that we live in.
I love how you stated a ton of assumptions. You didn't state not one fact. You just stated assumptions.
I want to move on to the next prompt, but we're definitely.
Can I say one thing? Just one question.
Yeah.
Like, let's say you knew he used to be 600 pounds, and how much do you weigh now?
I'm 384.
And now he's 384. Do you see him as less disgusting knowing he's lost 220 pounds?
No, that's fantastic.
I think yes.
There's
Yes.
still
There
work
we
to be done.
go.
But here's the
Okay.
thing, like I said before, unfortunately, human beings judge a book by its cover. It's just the world that we live in. Fat people that identify as 97 genders, whatever, they expect us to change our worldview for them, and that's just not how the world works. Like, it's been that way. It's always going to be that way.
Worldview. That's
All right,
the thing that I don't get.
It's just the world that we're in. Like, people are gonna,
You guys think my box appears a little too small?
Jacked men are more attractive than fat men. Will the agreeers please step forward?
How come there's 4 guys over there? All right, we're living in a bizarre world where people don't see the truth. Like, how is it possible that they're thinking, no, being obese and unhealthy is more attractive than being fit and healthy? How is this?
All right, sorry to annoy you guys. We're switching angles because I don't know why my computer's being fucky today. All right, once again, this is being fat a choice on the middle ground, all right?
It's possible. Actually, you know what? This is precisely why a majority of women find a majority of men as unattractive. Because a lot of guys think this way, oh, I just be a nice guy and girls are going to like me. No, they're not. She's not going to suck your dick with the same veracity when you're a fat.
100%.
See, people don't understand that women are aroused by one thing and they're attracted.
But how do you get those guys struggling with their weight to that point where they will?
Etc. Of course, right? But they're aroused by guys that have soul tendencies, dark triad traits, etc., and guys that are physically in shape. So if you want to get the best of your woman, where she respects and admires you, while simultaneously being aroused by you, so she doesn't cheat on you, you need to have it all.
You're saying that's true for all women?
A majority.
A majority, yes.
There might be 1% of the world that there's something wrong with them that might think that, yeah, you're 600 pounds, it's so hot, I love that, but...
The hot girls that you actually want, they exercise their hypergamy to the highest degree, and they want guys that are fit and have their money together, have their life together.
You're looking at me like you want to say something.
Yeah, because the question was, are jack men more attractive? We all walked over. Are we more attracted to jack men?
Yeah, well, I'm assuming they framed that because we're all guys here they mean women.
Well, men could be attracted to
If I had
men.
to switch teams, I'm going with the jack guy.
Obviously, this is going to be like personal biases, but I think attraction is very fluid in the sense that I can 100% admit, like, there was probably 40 pounds of muscle ago is when most women would be, like, attracting a girl. Of course, like, fitness girls, they're totally okay with the size I am, but, like, probably most girls, I'm, like, too much for. So I guess, like, where do we draw that line of, like, I think, for example, like, you would be much more attractive to most women than me. Would you agree with that?
I mean, that doesn't mean that, like, if you walked up to a girl, and let's say you're not her, like, you're a little bit more muscular than she would, like, if you have the charm and charisma, she gonna still go with you, man. It don't matter.
I have an interesting point.
And this is where, you know, if you have the charm and charisma, though, and you are not in good shape, good night, Irene. It's not happening.
Yeah. And no shade on you, but I think if you had Zach, right, you're on the end?
Yep.
If you put Zach and Greg, and you put them next to each other, and you did a poll, I think that most women would probably pick him if you had to, like, because he's got the height and all that.
Here we go.
What would you guys say to that?
No.
Well, we can put it to the test.
But that's not really fair. I'm 48 years old. He's a lot younger than me. He's about a foot taller than me, but you can't compare. I'm an old man. I'm 48 years old.
Obviously, height is a big component. So that you know, so it's not you're comparing apples to oranges. But if you take the same guy, same height, etc., but one guy is fat, one guy's in good shape, she's always going to go with the guy that's in better shape.
Because I've been so surprised to see on Instagram, there'll be, like, guys doing, like, an outfit try on, like, not in shape in the slightest bit, and all the comments are women like, I wish, like, men knew this is how we wish they looked, and, like, oh, this is like
liars.
They're lying.
Media.
Liars for
to look good.
One thing
for
about
clout.
you can never believe what women say, man. You
Yeah.
believe how they behave, not what they say.
They did a study actually about this that unfortunately proves that. I don't think just women, I think men as well. It's not really socially acceptable to lay it all out on the line and say, no, this is what I find attractive, right? It's just not. People are afraid of looking shallow. People are afraid of looking, superficial. I mean, that's why if you're ever a guy and you've tried to shoot your shit with a girl, all right, and she turns you down, and she gives the reason you're not my type, and you don't really know much more than that, it probably has something to do with your physical appearance or your money. I'm just keeping it real, okay? That's why guys like Myron Gaines, when it comes to things like getting in shape, when it comes to things like making money and building, better social skills, to be able to communicate to women, to pick them up, right? To be seen as attractive in their eyes. He does offer good advice. But unfortunately, us as a society, I don't think that 95 to 90% of us are ready to listen to him. And I don't think that most people, men and women, both, by the way, I'm not just talking about women, men included in this, all right? I don't think most people can handle the unfortunate truth. The overwhelming majority of people are superficial, okay? You'll see the one example, as they just discussed, of the hot chick fucking around with a guy who's obese, or, the guy who's got his shit together with a woman who's obese, all right? Most men, you give them the opportunity, that's not going to happen. They're not going to go with a girl who's overweight or obese. Sorry, I hate to put a pin in your hole today. We don't find that attractive. We just don't. It's the reason why, I plan on getting a hair transplant. It's the reason why I plan on getting a nose job for my big-ass Mediterranean, half Italian, half Jewish nose, right? It's the reason why I hit the gym, why I see how I look in various clothing. People are visual, unfortunately. You just can't discount that.
That's a different episode.
That's all right. Bring it on in.
Yeah. I disagreed mostly just with the blanket statement because attraction is so subjective. I am a big and tall model by trade. That's what I do. I model clothing brands.
Yeah, you understand what Zach had to say, though. He said, I'm a big and tall model, specifically, okay? Why can't he just be a regular model? You get what I'm saying? Why does he have to specifically be called a big and tall model? That alone right there just goes to show that there's some sort of specific fetishization of overweight or obese people. Why can't he just be in the general modeling category, right? Why does he have to be specifically considered that?
I've modeled with major fashion houses. I've been on the covers of magazines. You mentioned before dad bod comments and whatnot and on social media. I was flabbergasted when I started how many people were commenting and DMing me and talking about how attractive I was. That it just kind of, showed me that attraction is a lot more subjective than I thought, and people have a much wider range of what they find attractive than specifically a body type.
Is being jacked the most important trait for being attractive?
My Mediterranean roots are about to go enjoy some olives.
Probably the otherwise, right? I think height would be a very
money, height, fame. What can you bring to the table?
The number one thing is status. By far, status.
People also go after what they think they can get. So if this guy is 6'5" and extremely attractive, and it's like, well, I can't get that guy. I'm attracted to the 10 on 10 supermodel, but I'm not going to get her, so I'll be happy.
Yeah, quick analogy, all right? A fat woman is the equivalent to a broke man. It's the equivalent to a homeless man, all right? Keep that in mind.
With the 9.9 on 10.
Just to be clear, are we speaking about women being attracted to men?
It's not just about women. It's just about attraction. What is the most
Just
attractive, in your opinion, physique for a man?
Okay, I'm speaking from what women find attractive. So when I speak, that's what I'm talking about.
Yeah,
I'm
anybody.
sexually fluid. So my law of attraction does not adhere to anyone's standards, pretty much. I'm attracted to people in general. So you could be jacked, you could be more plus size, you could be skinny, you could be whatever it is that you are. If I'm attracted to you, I'm attracted to you.
What are the traits you find most attractive?
I think the way that you carry yourself is a really big thing for me. I can't date someone who lacks confidence because I feel like that seeps into other aspects of your life.
Do you mind if I jump in on the confidence thing?
Yeah.
Okay, cool. So, growing up, wasn't too confident in myself, and I gained that confidence when I started losing weight. And I noticed it was me putting myself in positions to get more opportunities with women. Right now, I'm single right now, but I'm doing okay. But the confidence came from me losing weight. So, I do agree that it's a subjective kind of standpoint, but socially, I understand that physically fit men, that's just like what everyone's like.
I don't think it's as subjective as guys are trying to say. Attraction isn't a choice, and there are hardwired traits that women look for in men. And what I've come to realize is that what women put out there is what they find attractive or politically correct things. Oh, he has a dad bod. He's nice. He's a good guy. The reality is that women don't respond well and favorably to these men. There's a reason why nice guys finish last is a thing. It's because when you're too nice and you kind of bend to her will, etc., girls aren't aroused by that. Girls don't want to say what they're really aroused by. Guys that are able to stand up to them. Guys that are able to tell them, well, that was a stupid comment, or hold them accountable for their stupidity when they do dumb things. This is what women find attractive because these are...
Well, you can't come to a woman, though, like that if you also don't have the other credentials to back it up. For example, if you're a broke guy or a fat guy or a scrawny guy talking to a woman like that, or an uneducated guy, right, with zero credentials, that can't happen either. But unfortunately, what feminism has done it's changed the game so that women are no longer attracted to men of their status. It's now given all the power in the dating market to men who are of a higher status. Okay?
These are leadership traits.
Have any of those things happened to you, though?
Well, I mean, I've talked to almost 3,000 women, and what I've come to realize from talking to all of them is that most of the time, you know, when they're in a comment section of TikTok, like, you're so handsome, blah, 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 will they actually go on a date and have sex with that guy? Probably not. But they say that because it's politically correct, and women tend to not want to be adversarial. They're going to say what sounds good, but what they're actually aroused by are two different things.
But they're married to those guys.
Yeah, that was kind of what I was
Most
getting to.
often they're married to...
And marriage is a failed institution in the West, and this is why most...
Yeah. Belgium, 75% divorce rate. All right. United States, 40% divorce rate. Here we go. What are all the countries that you guys see lighting up? Right? You guys see that? Fuck. There we go. Yeah. Okay. Overwhelming majority are in, let's see, we got Australia, some Middle Eastern countries, right? Some more, like Kazakhstan is more of a secular Muslim country. All across Europe, all across North America. All right. And unfortunately, people are not honest about what it is specifically that they find attractive.
Men get divorced by women. This is why they get destroyed in the divorce courts. This is why women overwhelmingly initiate the divorce rates in America. 80% are initiated by women, because we sit here and we lie and we believe what women say they're actually attracted to. No,
Well, let's go back to attraction for a second, though, because I'm married.
Sure.
I have a child.
Cool.
I have a beautiful wife.
Mm-hmm.
I was this size the entire process through it.
Would you say that you're an average guy?
I would say that I'm bigger than average.
6'5", and a model for being slightly
I
overweight.
wasn't a model when I started
But
dating
you are a
my
very
wife.
good-looking,
I was a
tall, big guy
bartender
who's
doing
on
whatever.
magazine covers. So
But
out
I
of the
think-
million guys overweight, you're at
You're
the
not
top.
an average guy.
But I think what you're missing is he just said that he wasn't any of those things.
He's not 5'6",
before
man, like me.
he met his
I'm
wife.
being 5'6" and doing it.
No, I totally agree with you. Well, that's what I was gonna actually agree with Myron for a second. Believe it or not, we're talking about. You mentioned status, and then a lot of people other mentioned confidence. So you even put in your own pecking order ahead of being jacked or being physically
status, for sure.
attractive. Wouldn't you say that matters more? Confidence, how you carry yourself, how you do it.
I mean, the problem was simply, is it either you jacked or
And
are you fat?
I'm not
What's
going to
more
argue the
attractive?
fact that our society definitely finds jack guys more attractive.
Yep.
But I disagreed with the statement because it was a blanket statement that I have found untrue in my own life.
Do all of you feel like you'd be more or less attractive, let's say,
The world is based off of blanket statements. Okay? The world is based off of blanket statements and generalities. All right? We can keep sitting here saying that it's not. It is.
£50 lighter than you are and simply like just body fat?
I think so.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Something that I struggled with for a while is, in me losing weight, am I still going to be able to book the jobs that I book? Because I've built an entire brand off of my body. I mean, granted, like, coolish, like...
And when
you know,
Tevin
I
joins
did
us in a little
something
bit, he's
that's
going to
all
be
my own, like,
discussing
I worked
those
on that.
things, okay?
But then I was also just like, if I lose this, are you still going to want me to, like, do this campaign for you? Are you still going to want me in your magazine? Are you still going to want to dress me? And then I had to, like, take a step back and say, like, well, what is it for me? Do I want to be skinny? No. Do I want to look like Greg? No. Do I want to look like Myron? No. But I know I want to look like me. I think talking about the law of attraction, you focus so heavy about what women would find attractive and the perspective of the woman. And I feel like, are you even attracted to yourself? When you look in that mirror, when you put your clothes on, are you like, damn, like I did that? Because when I got up this morning and I threw on my outfit, I was just like, yeah, I ate that.
Well, if you're going to talk about being attractive, etc., typically people are speaking from a romantic sense, from a heterosexual standpoint of men and...
Is how to pick up people of the gender that you're attracted to, okay? Whether you're a straight man trying to pick up women, straight woman trying to pick up men, whether you're a gay man trying to pick up men, that's what people are talking about. You know, Tevin's a very nice guy, and I have a lot of respect for him, but I don't think that was the point that they were trying to get at.
Women, so that's why I answered the question, because it was a very broad... That's what I mean. But of course, you need to be able to look at the mirror and respect the man that you see looking back at you. When you look back and you see the guy and you're in shape, etc., and you feel good about yourself, look good, feel good. A byproduct of that is that women just tend to find you more attractive. It all works together in tandem. Are you happy with the way you look? Of course. But I had to work to build this physique, and it took many years. I was an athlete in college, a Division I athlete. It took many years to be able to do this. So I'm able to. I rode in college. Cool. Oh, sweet. Yeah, I like rowing. So I think when fat people look at the mirror and they say, "Oh, I like that," that's cope, man. No, you don't. They say that to try to bring themselves up, but the reality is most of the time when you're fat, you look in the mirror, you're like, damn, I really let myself go. Not every. You're like, you know what? It's not that much of a priority, so fuck it.
Abe didn't get to answer the question going around.
Yeah, I was in the same boat as you, just because I feel like I don't agree with the blanket statement. Personally, for myself as a gay man, I find myself attractive. I would say, like, I go for guys like you as well, and I feel like I get a lot of.
And obviously, among individuals of different sexual orientations,
I think it goes a lot to
the perception of how you view different physiques, it's going to change, right? So are we talking about gay men picking up men? Are we talking about straight men picking up women? Like, what are we talking about exactly?
There's a new episode out now.
Problematic. Will the agreeers step forward?
Oh, here was the prompt.
Body positivity movement is problematic. Will the agreeers step forward?
Well, I think where it becomes a problem is obviously you should be comfortable in your body, and if you genuinely love how you look, great, but you can't ignore your health. Being someone who's overweight, I've been fortunate enough not to have any extreme complications other than knee pain and stuff like that. But I know people that, that are my size or bigger, and they have cholesterol problems, heart problems, diabetes. I have none of that. So the body positivity movement becomes a problem when you hide behind the shield of, oh, I should love my body, da-da-da-da. Great, but you have to be healthy too. You can't ignore your vitals. You got to check yourself on the inside.
Yeah, I think the big thing is you have to separate the health implication with you just being confident, right? I'm all for people to feel confident in their own skin. I think body positivity movement has been beneficial for plus size people in that regard, right? Because let's say there's a plus size person who's too embarrassed to go to the gym because they feel like they're going to be judged, whatever it is. But it's because of body positivity. They're like, oh, hey, I see other plus size people in the gym. Maybe I'm going to give it a try. And all of a sudden they start going. They're like, oh, man.
There you go. That right there. That is the right attitude. Perfect. You have a problem with obesity. You have a problem with fat people. Okay. Don't just throw them away and say you're disgusting. That's it. It's over. Invite them now into your fitness scene. Include them. And then they will become passionate about fitness, and they will not be obese people anymore. They will become fit people. Love that attitude right there. That's a perfect attitude.
Man, I like this, right? And they keep it going. You can argue that without body positivity, maybe that day would have never happened for that person, right? But I think the problematic part really comes down to people extrapolating body positivity, shaming a celebrity like, let's say, Adele for losing weight.
Yes.
Right? That's where I would kind of draw the line there.
Or promoting Lizzo. Making fun of Adele for losing weight, but promoting Lizzo for being a fat ass. Unacceptable.
Perfect.
Do we feel, are a lot of people doing that?
I think the thing around Lizzo is it's not just the weight, it's the lifestyle. You see her drinking all the time and partying and not sleeping. There's so little to do with health. It's not just she's promoting loving yourself, which I think is great. She's promoting a lifestyle that is unhealthy, being very overweight, drinking, not sleeping. All of these things are not conducive to your health. So I think you conflate that And sure, being...
I'm going to make one thing really clear to you guys. I'm a libertarian, all right? That's, we'll get into politics another video, but I would say if there's one political movement I would identify with, it would be economically left-wing, in terms of policies, as libertarian as possible, and culturally and socially center, maybe center-right, okay? So, on certain issues regarding maybe feminist issues, LGBT issues. I personally think the country's gone a little bit too liberal. I don't think regarding class issues that the country has gone liberal enough, has gone to the left enough, right? I think that there needs to be a little bit more of a clampdown on the billionaire class, on the wealthy, and, to benefit those who are poor or working class, right? But regarding actual laws, when it comes to, someone who wants to glorify obesity, I'm not saying that they can't publish it online, right? I'm not saying that legally they can't live their life like that. But should we as a society follow it is the other question. To that, I would say hard no, hard pass. But fine, if someone is content being morbidly obese and dying at the age of 55, go for it. I don't care, right? I think you should be encouraged to try to lose the weight. It's like if you're struggling with a drug problem and you have to be hospitalized as a result of your alcohol or drug consumption. The nurses, the doctors, they'll come in. They'll give you some flyers and pamphlets for a AA meeting or an NA meeting or rehab nearby to get your addiction under control. But if you don't want to accept it, okay, fine. Keep living your life as such. And I think it's the exact same thing regarding weight and fitness and obesity. You don't want to get it under control? Life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness, man. Okay, you're ready for a change now? Cool. And may you live another 20 or 30 years plus and have a long, beautiful, happy, physically fit life.
Being body positive is important, like loving yourself, loving the way you look. But if that's going to influence other people to make bad decisions about their body and their health, that's problematic.
Body positivity is disempowering people. It's making them think that they're healthy at any size, which they're not. And so as soon as you start telling people, hey, just love your body, like Lizzo will literally rub her belly and said...
No, I don't think that's what... Oh, hang on. I don't want to look at this guy's face like that.
Giving me all this power as she's eating.
Okay, here we go. I don't think that's what... Body positivity is not doing that, right? It's problematic because, you might have young kids that are very impressionable. And, young kids, they don't listen to, reality or reason. So they see an icon like that. Lizzo, I think, is a fantastic musician. I mean, she can sing, she can play like 3 instruments. I can sing and play 2 instruments. I can assure you that is not an easy thing to work towards. But being known for her physique as a, body positivity plus size icon, nah, 100% disagree with that.
And a burger, and she's promoting being obese. By doing this, you're just ruining it for people who actually should think, wait a minute, I can lose weight, I can go to the gym, I can eat less, I can do this.
Personally, my problem with body positivity isn't necessarily what it stands for, and I feel like there's a misconception because there are those people that they use it to justify fatness and just...
Yes.
I don't even want to say fatness. I want to make it very clear, unhealthiness. Because there's someone like me who... I wouldn't say I'm necessarily part of the body positive community anymore. Personally, I would say I champion body diversity.
Oh, anymore. Okay. I don't know if I said at the beginning if Tevin is part of the body positivity movement. But I guess as he just stated, he was once at one time, no longer.
Because it's all encompassing. It's inclusive of what everybody, is doing within their journey. When I expressed the desire to lose weight, another plus-size individual that I used to be friends with was just like, well, I don't feel like I can share your content because I'm not sure how my followers are going to perceive this. I think it might be triggering for them and stuff like that. And my response to it was, well, if you're championing body positivity, then what I'm doing should not be a problem, because the entire time that I've been advocating for people that look like me or people who have been othered in any capacity in general is that all bodies are good bodies. What we do with our body is what matters. And so body diversity is important to me because for a guy like you or a guy like the two of you might suffer from body dysmorphia. And that's a very real thing. You might not see yourself for what you really are. And so you're seeking unhealthy habits to achieve a goal. To get where you want to go, like you just got to give it time. Be healthy in it in all aspects, like mentally, physically. You've got to find the right avenue to do what it is that you need to do for yourself.
The body positivity movement is a huge psyop to keep us fatter and stupider. It's all a scam. The reality is that Big Pharma wants money, and they understand that when you're fat, you have more health problems. They understand that you're going to need insulin, you're going to need medication, etc. And they make a bunch of money on us being sick.
Cha-ching! Yep.
Actually have you be healthy. So let's go ahead and make our people fat as hell, get them in the hospitals, get them on medication, continue to make money, etc. It's all a big psyop.
So you believe it's all intentional?
Yes. We promote mediocrity.
I feel like it's a subset. Yes, I'm sitting...
In some countries, right? I mean, go to other parts of the world, for example. I've been to, the Caribbean. Okay, some pretty heavy-set people down there, right? Latin America as well. Been to Mexico. I've been to the U.S. Virgin Islands, Puerto Rico. Definitely can see it. Canada, people are very thin. I've been to Europe, mostly the Iberian Peninsula and a little bit of southern France. Spain and Portugal, though, in particular. People are very, very thin. You also look at other countries. Look at countries across the Middle East. Look at Asia, China, India. They do not have problems with weight at all. They've got problems with other things. They've got poverty problems. They've got war. A lot of them drink very heavily, smoke a lot. That's definitely a part of these other cultures. But, you will never see... not only to begin with obese or overweight people, you won't see them justifying it and you won't see them promoting it. All right, that right there is most importantly the biggest component here.
Here because I do think that there is a part of it that is problematic. But I think that the problematic part of it is a subset of people that use it as a tool to weaponize whatever it is that they're doing.
I think the whole movement is a problem. The body positivity movement in general is a problem. All of it.
All we're talking about weight.
About your own, like for you, is for instance.
Well,
right,
I think if you haven't earned, here's the thing: being happy and content with yourself, it's not given; it's earned. You have to go out there, work, and then you're going to feel that satisfaction. Like I earned that. That's
so.
Good.
At what point do you earn it, though?
When you can look back in the mirror and actually, genuinely, not coping, respect the man that you see before you. And the reality is, people are going to realize that you're going to need to achieve a certain physique because you have all these fat people. I love my body. No, you don't. It's a lie, dude. You're just coping. You're lying to yourself. And now all these people on Instagram and TikTok with the body positivity movement are lying to themselves. They're not happy where they want to be. They just accept that because they're too lazy to make a change.
No, but I genuinely do love my body.
Right now, as you are?
Yeah.
Then why are you going to the gym?
And I'll explain to you.
Then why are you going to the gym?
I will explain it to you. I love everything that my body is capable of doing. I love the fact that at my size, I can do a lot of things that other people smaller than me still cannot do.
But you want to lose weight, though.
And yeah, right.
Which is good.
I want to lose weight because I love my body, but I have one body. Why would I not love it?
Yeah.
And because I love my body is why I'm looking to make changes, right? But to say that loving your body is BS, no, you make changes, you make healthy changes to yourself.
You improve because you love it, right? I think a guy like Myron Gaines would understand this. You're poor right now, okay? 10 years from now, you want to try to be rich because you love your life. Because you want to one day have a family, because you want to one day have that beautiful wife, that nice, lovely home, couple of, children as well. Because you love your life and you care about your life, you're willing to make changes, even though it's not a great life now. And I think that's the point that Tevin's trying to get at.
Because you love yourself. All of that time that I'm putting in, the work, the money that I'm spending, that's a labor of love. Because I love myself enough to know that I want to make some changes to live a better lifestyle in the sense of I can just do a little bit more.
All right, let's bring in our disagreeers.
So it's not a single problem.
Oh, no, I'm not saying there's not a single problem. To me, body positivity is more about bodily autonomy. Like you were mentioning wanting to lose weight. My whole thing is like, yeah, it's your body. Do whatever you want with it. I don't think I, as a human being, have a right to tell any of you what to do with your bodies. body positivity kind of comes in and go, okay, you as a human being have inherent value. Just in the fact that you are a conscious soul on this planet, you have an inherent value. You are within a vessel of your body that you do have control over, but at the same time, you're not less valuable to society or from the standpoint of the soul for what your body looks like.
When I'm speaking about body positivity, I'm talking about the over acceptance and encouragement of being obese.
So I personally, again, I'm not super online, have not seen anybody pro-obesity ever.
Lizzo.
Oh, there's a bunch.
Yeah, there
she
are.
Loves herself.
No, sorry. That's where I gotta step in. No, there are people that are pro-obesity. Okay, I see it quite frequently. I don't even necessarily know about Lizzo if she's necessarily said anything pro-obesity. I know she has tried to lose weight, but there are many.
Actively promoting obesity.
She's not telling anyone to get fat.
She's showing you exactly how to do it and saying, look at my body as I love and rub it and giving me life. And she's like joking around. And
also, I want to clarify, see, here's the thing. There's a bunch of fat influencers that push this body positivity situation, and a bunch of them are dead now.
Yeah.
No one talks about that. That didn't hit mainstream news.
So I'm in that space. Yeah. Which influencers are you talking about? Because
I don't recall their names, but there's a couple of them that passed away. They're YouTubers. They used to do these mukbangs.
Yeah.
Eat a bunch of food on camera.
That's totally different.
but that's
They're not a part of our
thing.
community. That's a completely different thing. We're not saying we're gonna go to a restaurant and pig out just because it's entertaining or anything like that. There are people that they're called gainers, that their whole lifestyle, their fetish and things like that revolves around gaining weight.
Yeah, and I understand that you're saying that that's not a component to the body positivity movement, but you got to understand for the general masses, they're watching that, they're going to attribute it to that.
They're going to lump them both together, even though it might not be.
Like, no, this person's just a gluttonous person. No, they look at everyone who's obese that's making content about being obese and continuing that lifestyle as a part of the body positivity movement.
They're not making content about being obese. They're making content about overeating.
Yes, and they
which is also an
that.
Eating disorder.
Yeah, and they also encourage being fat as well.
Do you think being in a fat body and being in public space encourages obesity, just flat out?
Yes.
So just us existing, we're saying, yay, everyone go gain weight?
It absolutely impacts other people to think, well, think of it, you're 6'6", good looking, you're modeling, but it's going to encourage other people to, well, hey, look at him, he's got
so then what about when I go to the gym? When I step into the gym, or when Zach steps into the gym, or when any of us step into the gym, are we promoting being bigger like that too? Are we going there, and is our presence there unwanted?
By being famous, rich, popular, and being obese, you're indirectly promoting it in the same way that people who take steroids and are 350 pounds of muscle winning Mr. Olympia are indirectly promoting it, even if they don't say they're taking it.
But I'm speaking more specific.
Yeah, so here's the deal. Again, I remember I'm a big fan of heavy metal music, right? What I primarily play is a mix of EDM, so electronic dance music, rock, metal, industrial, stuff like that. And I was like 3 months old when this happened, I think. But the Columbine shooting, all right? It's totally relevant. And I know you guys are probably like, what does that have to do with anything? Damn. 26-year anniversary is coming up. Here we go. Violence sparked debates over American gun culture. Yes, and gun control laws. Okay, there you go. The primary problem, right? High school cliques, subcultures, goth. This is the part right here I would like to address, okay? Outcasts and school bullying, as well as teenage use of pharmaceutical antidepressants. I think that probably helps them nowadays more. The internet and violence in video games and film. Okay, so real quick, all right, subcultures such as goths, because I remember, I guess you could call me somewhat goth light, right? I'm not full on goth, as you can see, but I wear dark clothes, I got my guitar right here. I got my synth right there. This is the kind of music that I produce. This is the kind of music that I play, right? 9 Inch Nails, Marilyn Manson. These musical artists caught a lot of shit after the Columbine shooting because they were being accused of, see? Shortly after the Columbine incident, Manson released a new video for the fight song off the band's album Holy Wood, In the Shadow of the Valley of Death. Many assume that it referenced the Columbine massacre by depicting a clash between jocks and goths. No, I mean, the clash between the preppy kids, the jocks, and then the sort of outcast kids like the goths, that's been a thing going on for decades. Manson denied that there was a connection, right? Here we go. Rolling Stones, Columbine. Whose fault is it? In the aftermath of the Colorado school shooting, Marilyn Manson speaks out. So essentially, people were really coming at, guys like Marilyn Manson, guys like Trent Reznor from Nine Inch Nails. They were coming at him hard because they were essentially accusing them of utilizing their content to hijack the minds of these young people, the shooters like Eric Harris, as you can see here, and Dylan Klebold, all right? You know whose fault the shooting is? Eric Harris and Dylan Klebold. Now, bringing that back to this, all right? Issues with body positivity. You know whose fault it is if these people are struggling with their weight and overeating? It's their fault. It's not the fault of, someone like Rick Ross, who's totally balling. And he's what, 400 pounds? 300 pounds? No. Again, libertarian here, all right? Every single person has a choice to make. If they make a bad choice because they happen to listen to a bad influence, who might be, by the way, a great influence in other ways, it's not the influence's fault or influencer's fault. It's the follower's fault. And this is the thing. Nobody ever wants to blame the followers, right? You saw a fat person, or you saw a violent video game or a violent movie or listened to a violent song, which, by the way, a lot of these things are designed to shock and appall the masses on purpose. It's not Marilyn Manson or Trent Reznor from Nine Inch Nails' fault that these kids, picked up shotguns and started killing people at their school. I think they ended up massacring, very tragically, 15 people. Not one iota of that, not 1 ounce of that is Marilyn Manson's fault. It's just not. The trench coat mafia and all that shit. I'm not sure if a lot of you guys who are younger even remember what I'm talking about. Like I said, I was 3 months old when that happened. But that's just absolutely untrue and absolutely preposterous to even suggest that such a thing is true. We either have freedom of speech in this country or not, freedom of expression. You can utilize that right in the First Amendment however you want. If someone takes that out of context and they utilize that in a destructive, violent manner, that's on them.
Specifically in the gym, in that space where people should be coming together to work on their bodies and stuff like that.
Spring is all about fresh starts, getting your life in order, resetting routines, decluttering. But if you've been feeling
getting you off my fucking computer.
If you saw us in the gym,
I would be happy and proud and excited, and my whole channel is about helping people who are overweight to lose weight and have realistic expectations. I would never say you have to look like this, you need abs. It's just, let's go halfway there. That's my entire channel, of which I have over 2 million followers. It's all about realistic goals of helping people who are overweight to lose weight. That is what my channel is all about.
But we're in public, and you made the statement that if we step out in public, that it would encourage people to live an unhealthy lifestyle.
The more friends you have who are overweight, the more likely you're going to be overweight. It just happens to happen. I'm just telling you the truth. I'm not going to pretend it doesn't.
But guess what, though? Those friends, right? You voluntarily chose to be a part of that social group. You want to be overweight as a result of copying their decisions? Okay, go ahead. You can't blame that on them. You made a choice to join them in that regard. All right? And now this is a totally different situation from the Marilyn Manson Columbine thing, because you're talking about a piece of artwork, right? Art, which is not supposed to be censored, being utilized for a horrible, destructive, violent act. One more thing. They have pretty strict gun control measures in other countries. Pretty strict laws regarding that. You don't see Marilyn Manson or Nine Inch Nails influencing a mass shooting in, Germany, and I would argue the goth culture, the industrial rock and roll and heavy metal culture over there is way bigger than it is here in the United States. Food for thought, man.
If 90% of the world were overweight, more people would be encouraged to be overweight.
As just on this side, I don't think any of us have ever looked at a person heavier than ourselves and gone, I want to be that. That's a great thing to be. No, we have the same internalized biases as everybody else does. He was bringing up the gym before, and you said by existing just in a fat body, we are promoting it.
Yes.
I model, and when I do model fitness wear, which I do often, I get so many comments about like, oh, you are promoting obesity. I'm wearing fitness wear. I'm in the gym. I'm doing the thing you want me to do, and I'm still promoting obesity?
If you're exercising and you're trying to lose weight, then you're promoting people who are overweight to try to lose weight. That's great.
That's
but
awesome.
If you're Lizzo and rubbing your belly...
I'm promoting... I mean, I don't know shit about Lizzo.
Specifically about influencers that promote gluttonous, lethargic lifestyles, which a bunch of them do. That's what we're talking about. If you're in the gym and you're fat and you're getting after and you're documenting that, that's fantastic.
There we go. We all agree. I don't think anybody is disagreeing here. I think we're arguing over semantics. We're arguing over choices of words.
Styles. Yes. And that, again, is not body positivity.
So that's why the general masses don't have that distinction, though.
I do think we have a good read, though, on how each individual sees the body positivity movement. All right, the next prompt is, I am satisfied with my sex life. Agreeers, step forward. I have abused my body. Will the agreeers step forward?
I'll start by saying I've abused my body many times. Being a bodybuilder, a professional bodybuilder, I've abused steroids, did that for
Same
over 10
here.
years. I don't think you...
Did my fair share of drinking, did my fair share of smoking, drugs, do it all, you know? Never was a food addict, but I was an addict to many things, still am.
Get to the level that you have to get to be at to be a professional bodybuilder while being natural. And so absolutely, and I would say that somebody trying to abuse steroids to get that muscle, to get that look, is just as unhealthy as somebody who's obese. So I don't try to be a hypocrite. I say I've done these poor choices. I'm 48 now. I don't do steroids anymore. And so I recognize that what I did in the past was bad, probably took years off my life. And so I would say to people who are overweight, why don't you do the same thing? And if you're not, then do you really care about your health? Because if you do, you would stop doing the things that are leading to being morbidly obese.
But then to your own argument, you spent 10 years doing something you knew was inherently unhealthy.
Correct.
But then you're going to turn around and tell people that they should just wake up. But
yes, exactly. Like people should have told me, Greg, why do you keep doing this to yourself? You do not recognize what's going to happen. And if we call it shaming, why are you abusing steroids, Greg? Think of it. Think of the years you're taking off your life. Maybe I would have waited.
But the power was in your own awakening, right? The power right there was in your own awakening to realize within yourself that you were doing something negative, and then you made the change for it, right? And that change is now consistent. That change is now something that you can give a testimony about and help other people change their ways or persuade people to just not do it at all, right?
But building on what you said, what was the moment, where the perspective shifted?
Well, I got old enough and realized I can't get any better at this. I can keep taking more and more drugs and try to sustain this, but I said, it's not worth it anymore. So I had to completely change my mind around what I was doing, which was being judged on my appearance. And remember, I make money on how I look, and so that's going to have a huge impact on me. And I had to say, I need to get my dopamine, my self-worth from something else. So I quit doing all the bodybuilding competitions, and I said, I'm going to start riding bikes. I'm going to learn Spanish. I'm going to do something else where I can feel good about myself. And it's hard. Like, look at this guy, 300 pounds of muscle. 20 years from now, is he going to want to still be this size? He might look back and say, I maybe regret certain things. And I think if somebody's overweight, they're going to think the same things. Like, if you're 400, 500, 600 pounds, you're going to think this, is it worth doing this? Is it worth eating all the time? It's tough.
I think this is the first actual middle ground I think we're finding, which is really great because it's true. I mean, I've been harmful to myself on both sides of the spectrum. There are times I was taking 20 to 30 diet pills and laxatives a day, eating less than 400 calories a day, working out nonstop, and then there's the other times.
Yeah, little while. SARMs, here you go. I was hooked on these for a little while, right? Can definitely tell you. Physically, I felt great, but mentally, these things will fuck you up, all right? They will move your testosterone levels around like you will not believe, and after, you need to taper yourself off. Your nuts will shrink, your fucking dick won't get hard. It is not a fun experience coming off these things, okay? Not good. Not good shit, guys.
Where I was eating way too much, smoking way too much, drinking way too much, and abusing my body in the other way. I think we all come to the realization of what we're doing is harmful in different ways at different times. Like, it took you 10 years to come to realize that was harmful. My thing is sometimes it takes people who might be overweight or, you know, at that high tier, that 500-600 pounds, to realize that it's harmful for them. And maybe in their life they don't feel like it's harmful. And they're happy. There are people, believe it or not, legitimately happy in certain
Ignorance
sizes and
is
shapes.
bliss. Like,
Yep.
I mean, I was happy at the moment. I
But
felt
why
like
is
it
there
was.
bliss an issue?
Ignorance is bliss, but you could die before you wake up. You
But
could
you could have
die
done the
before
same
that
thing
happens.
taking steroids. That's
Exactly. I could have died doing what I did, and so is it not my responsibility to tell people, don't copy me, and so it would not be somebody who's, you know,
And I don't think there's
500
anything wrong with
pounds
that.
to do the same thing.
I don't think there's anything wrong with that. Even when you said before, you're like, well, I wish someone had shamed me, saying, what are you going to do? You're going to kill yourself. That's not shaming to me. To me, that is compassionate and looking out for somebody. It's
Yes.
when you take it to the other level where you start insulting them, degrading them, making them feel like shit.
There you go.
We insult each other and shame each other, but it's as a friend. Like, this is what guys do. Girls don't do it. They all suck up to each other. You're all tens. Guys are like, look at your gut, look at your belly.
Stop saying what girls do.
I know, that's what no, it's important to come.
I'm telling you what they
Yeah.
do.
The
It's
masculine
fact.
from the feminine, because it's guys talking here, and I think it's important to distinguish when something is feminine to say, well, we don't adhere to that over here.
Yeah, but there's been no shortage of generalizations on women in this episode so far, and I'm really, really curious about your answer to this prompt regarding like self-abuse, like bottom.
Yeah, no, before we get into Myron's response, I mean, and I think this is so interesting because running Fresh and Fit, running that podcast, you can see he'll have girls on and he'll say, you know, rate yourself and then rate the girl next to you. All right? I'm a 10. I'm a 10. I'm a 10. It doesn't matter how short they are. It doesn't matter how tall they are. If they're overweight, if they're obese, 10, 10, 10, 10, 10, right? Whereas if you were to do that with guys, it would be a lot more equipped towards reality. It'd be, you know, honestly, dude, you're kind of a 7, all right? You're not bad looking, but, you know, I mean, you know, me, I look at myself, I'd give myself 6.5, maybe a 7, right? I know I'm not a 10, 110%, all right? And guys would do the same thing because we have to live in a fact-based reality. What happens when we don't achieve greatness? Women don't approach us. They don't want to fuck us. They don't want to fuck with us. They don't want to, you know, do anything with us, right? Men will still approach women if they are suffering from some sort of inadequacy. It doesn't work the other way around.
Abuse.
Yeah, I mean, I'm a lifetime natural. I've never taken a drug before in my life. However, I was an athlete in college, and obviously when you're a Division I athlete, you're trained
He was a rower. He was also a Homeland Security agent, I believe.
It was very, very intensive. I would train through injuries, which wasn't intelligent, but at the end of the day, I looked at it like, hey, we got to win. We got, you know, some teams to beat this season, so it built a mental fortitude. I think abuse is good to a degree if you're able to overcome it and learn something from it.
I did a lot of stupid things. Like I broke the world record in the bench press, and now I can't bench press anymore. And it was my favorite lift. I've had hip operations. I have both elbows reconstructed. I trained too hard. I couldn't stop myself. All that pressure, desire, whether it was installed by myself or from others, to try to fit in, to be socially accepted. And I was addicted. I was bench pressing with shoulder pain. I should have stopped. I couldn't. And so, you know, I set the record and it's done. I can't even lift anymore. I don't squat, bench, or deadlift because look at Ronnie Coleman. You guys know Ronnie Coleman? He's in a wheelchair. He can hardly walk. He's in pain medications. And imagine putting your body through all that torture and then you get in your 60 and now you can't do anything.
So one question I
Dude.
have for you then is, knowing what you did,
Mr.
obviously,
Olympia of the
allowed
80s and
you
90s. This guy is
platform
fucked up
to
now.
speak to these things, to talk about steroid abuse. You understand all the intricacies. Do you think that you would have been able to do that, let's say, if you'd kept your natural status throughout your whole career, you didn't break world records, you weren't an IFBB pro, you didn't have all of those accolades to stand on, do you think you would still be Greg Doucette?
Yeah, no, his
All you
body's
do?
fucked,
I
man.
think so. I think I'm one of those 1 in a million cases that was able to do what I do and actually got the success that I got. But if I look back and I'm really honest with myself, I regret doing these things. I was natural world champion and I was breaking world records natural, so I had the records, but I wanted more. I wanted more glory. I wanted more people to say, you're cool, we like you. And so I ended up taking steroids. I did that because I wanted to fit in. I wanted to be sponsored. I wanted a pro card. I wanted to be famous. And it worked. At what cost, though? How healthy am I really?
Everything it is that you're saying, right? I don't feel any ounce of like shaming you for it. I think everything that you said is really important.
We're going to speed this up a little bit.
Acknowledge that and to know that and to then share that, right? But the difference is that, like, had someone shamed you, I don't think that you'd feel the same way about it. Instead, people poured life into you and told you, like, hey, I don't think that this is right.
We got to wrap this up.
Because it's doing more.
The opposite happened. I was rewarded. When I started getting followed on social media, I was talking about my steroid cycles, I was talking about what I've done, and they're like, look at your muscles, look at your chest, and it was like, you know how hard it was to stop? Because I was being rewarded with dopamine, with people saying nice things about me all the time, and for me to stop, I know that my views on social media go down. If I went on a steroid cycle right now, people are going to fall, wow, Coach Greg, you're back, we miss the old Coach Greg. And so it's hard for me to be the
All right, now I can't understand him. We're going to slow it the fuck down a little bit.
The jack muscle freak, and I have to fight the urges not to use steroids every single day. Because I know I would look better, I know I would feel better, but I'm like, it's not healthy, and so I have to say no.
I get what you mean about the dopamine reward thing, because for me, I have a similar situation, but kind of in the opposite way. Every time I start slimming down, I start getting the, what are you doing? Why are you losing weight? Because I am in that large guy space. Mm-hmm. So it's like, it's very funny how much on both sides, outward opinions just like really just make what we do hard. I know that when I...
Yeah, humans are very social animals. We need groupthink. We are influenced by groupthink quite frequently, right? Sociologists, psychologists, anthropologists, they've proven this.
More cardio, like I'm a big hiker and biker, and sometimes in the summer I'll slim down, but then all of a sudden I'll get a ton of comments from people just being like, we liked you heavier, we liked you this. I'll have clients that'll stop using me because I've gotten too small. And so you're kind of seeking that dopamine, that approval, but also that career boost. You get stuck in this loop of doing things that you know aren't good for yourself.
I wanted to hear from you, just going back to the prompt, why you came forward.
Oh, I mean, I think obviously professional bodybuilding has its risks. Obviously, I try to mitigate them as much as possible. I work with a company that does blood work, quarterly every 3 months. I am very, very methodical with what I do, and I'm very, very on the mild side. You would be surprised, but I've been training for 20 plus years. I think that's the key for me. I would say, like, being this size, 100% not healthy. Is it unfortunate that I am very passionate about something that is bodybuilding? Yeah, it's kind of like I fell into it. I love it. It's hard for me, but I made a decision with my wife that at age 35, that's it. I'm done. Like, no more competitive bodybuilding. I have an understanding, but like Greg, I have the foresight to know like there has to be a limit to it. Because if you just let it go, I would have to be probably 25 more pounds of muscle and like have to do things that I'm not willing to do in order to be like, let's say Mr. Olympia, right? So. Because all the way through my 20s, I was close to like 230 pounds, natural all the way until I was like 27 and a half. So hopefully I'll be okay going back to that size.
Do you use steroids currently?
I mean, I use...
I think
that's the biggest insult in the world right now.
No. I only ask because, again, we're on the topic of body abuse, right? So I'm only asking that in that realm because of what you said about it. I'm not asking that.
So it's kind of like it's just when you're jacked like that and you say, do you use steroids? It's like, you think you can look like this natural? Like, if I said, hey, are you on steroids? Look at that body. Like, if I said, you look like you're on steroids.
Yeah, people think I'm here with the compliment.
If I say, obviously you're natural, they'd be like, what do you mean, obviously? No, obviously.
So yes, I'm honest.
Okay. It's literally just like a question that I have, but it's also just like, well, what do you do as you're progressing in that to get to the points that you want? So that's where that question stems from. And I also really appreciate your candor for that.
Yeah, I mean, I think I will 100% say, like, some of the best shape of my life was natural in my 20s, like, very lean, probably my healthiest. Like, if anybody tells you they're, like, an IFBB professional bodybuilder, it's almost 99% of them are in some capacity enhanced. It might be very minimally, it might be through the roof, like, you wouldn't even believe what they're taking, but it's there, it's part of the sport, it's unfortunate, but, like, that's the problem, that's one of the problems we talked about earlier with the fitness industry, is, like, that's expectation.
Let's bring our disagreement. Hey! Good job not abusing yourself. Yeah, so I took abuse as like doing things that's negative for your health, and for me, I've always approached fitness from a health kind of lens, right? Like Myron, I'm 100% natural. I'm never gonna look like Eric, I'm never gonna look like Greg, but it's something I'm content with, right? For me, I'm kind of in for long term. I want to be able to do what I do. I'm 60, 70, 80, 100, focusing more on the health aspect of it. Can be a good no-go, because I feel like if you're looking from the outside in, sometimes it can be like, well, dude, how am I gonna look like Eric? Like, how's this ever gonna happen? Right?
That is awesome, by the way, right?
Within fitness, and yeah. I think it's important to also acknowledge that, like, there's abuse on both spectrums, right? Like, you can be a fat ass on one end, and so I'm going to just and then there's the other side where you can use performance-enhancing drugs.
Myron, this is a guy, like, whatever is in that head, you're going to hear it. You're a fat ass on one end. Like, I swear, you want a guy who is honest, you want a guy who will say whatever the fuck comes to his mind, this is your guy.
I'm going to step on stage, but I would make the argument that the person that is training, using PEDs, etc., I respect that individual more than the fat ass, and the reason why is because though it isn't healthy to be on performance-enhancing drugs, you're still pushing your body to a level that most can't, versus by just being fat, that doesn't take any skill or dedication. So what if that person is doing something like, maybe they're into quantum physics, maybe they're changing the way we view the world entirely, are they not valuable because they're not shredded? Well, again, we're talking about the purpose of, I have more respect for the bodybuilders, my point.
Yeah, I mean, you could tell this guy, Zach, he's trying to, drink some copium over there, as they say. It's just, the question had nothing to do with what else are you doing in addition to having that physique, right? That wasn't the issue. It was, I have abused my body, very clearly. That's the prompt. I don't understand what that has to do with anything.
Okay, and I think society would enlarge as well, which is why bodybuilders that, like a Ronnie Coleman, etc., though he is disabled now, etc., he's a legend and he's going to go down in history.
Yeah, but I actually thought that was a good question. Like when a great film director who's like very overweight and like just totally poured into their craft, like is there respect for someone like that?
Well, that's great because he's able to do something exceptional, right? And he's able to diversify himself from the general.
But not as a result of his weight. That doesn't pertain to his weight alone. It's always interesting when these people, you can always tell, right, when deep down they are unhappy with their life choices. And again, I don't think that shaming is the right path to take with them. But you can always tell when they're unhappy with their life choices, what they'll, the certain clues, the things that they'll say to, show these like little subtle clues that they are in fact unhappy with the path that they've taken regarding their weight. It's very obvious. Oh, but I'm also doing quantum physics or juggling. That wasn't the question, bro.
Masses, right? But will people know that when they meet him, that he's a famous director, unless he's very prominent? But yeah, there's exceptional people that are fat in certain regards, but we're talking about body abuse here. I'm just saying in general, I would have far more respect for the professional bodybuilder than
Peter Jackson versus making multiple award-winning films.
It has nothing to do with it.
Some guy like taking PEDs is better than that.
Sorry.
No, sorry. I'm legitimately curious.
Yeah.
You have guy using PEDs on one side trying to do stuff, and then you do have like Peter Jackson, Lord of the Rings.
That's why I was very explicit to say I'm talking about the fat influencers.
Yeah,
so like I'm talking in that context. Like if you're gonna have abuse of your body on two different
George R. Martin. Oh wait, hang on.
I think me and most of society would have far more respect for the hardworking billionaire.
I understand that, but I also think that like if someone's abusing themselves in any way, there should be some empathy and like rather than just being like you're a better abuser to yourself than that person.
Fitness culture can be toxic. Agree or step forward?
Here we all are again.
Hey, let's hear from the Jack guys.
100%. I think you can perpetuate so many themes that are so unhealthy. Like there's so many images online of people that post in like the best lighting with a pump. That is the societal norm of like what's good, and it even like affects me because I'll see people and I'm like, oh, I look like garbage compared to that. I think that right now it's like there's a lot of misinformation online when it comes to like how to get fit, how to stay in shape, and a lot of people are monetizing it. These like crazy fad diets, like you can't eat certain things, carbs are bad, fruit has sugar in it. So
yeah, and this used to be one thing, guys, in the past that was primarily affecting women. I would say right now this is primarily one of the things. When people always talk about men's issues, those on the left in particular, right? Like, your whole fourth wave feminist movement nowadays, they have this very immediate knee-jerk reaction to it. Like, oh, there are no men's issues, right? And we can definitely get into that later. The majority of those who are homeless are men. Incarcerated are men. Women don't have to register for the draft. Men make up 95%, I think, of workplace-related deaths. Like, okay, there's no, male issues. Men make up 80% of homicide victims. Like, come on. But the overall point, though, is that this right now, this toxic, misinformation of how easy it is to achieve this type of physique, right? How easy it is to achieve this type of look when it's really not easy. They make it look easy. This is something that is huge among men right now. And what's happening is a lot of times it's getting into women's heads. And it's changing the way that they perceive men. This is one of the reasons why, I think feminism was a part of it. Modern feminist movements in particular. But in addition to that, social media pushed that trend off the ground. It made it just completely rise, to the point where now we look at men, we look at like the guys from, for example, you want to think of like, not Fresh and Fit, like Fast and Furious, for example. And the way that these guys, your Jason Statham, your Vin Diesel, your Dwayne Johnson, right? These are now the guys we look at as almost being like an average man. And that's just not the case. That's just not true. And we now do sort of start to view men that can't achieve that as less. That's definitely changed. In the 80s and 90s, people said they had like Arnold Schwarzenegger, for example. Yeah. Mr. 80s right there. But it's nowhere near as popularized for men to be in this kind of shape. Nowhere near as big as it is now as it was back in the 80s. Like, Not even slightly, I think.
It's going to make you fat. So like now food is almost being weaponized and then to be monetized so that you can buy their ebook to tell you the exact secret, code in order to lose weight. So fitness is an industry, right? So people are incentivized to say whatever that is to make money. And so it's been harder for me as a coach that takes a more holistic approach to wellness and fitness and saying, hey, it's all about balance. And like Greg's the same way. I know I felt like, I watch a lot of his videos. That is the correct approach to like making
I gotta follow these guys a little more.
I think that's why, the fitness industry, even being part of it, like is frustrating because there's so much misinformation.
I would say also that there's so much pressure to look like us, and it's causing people to develop body dysmorphia. And so this is a huge problem. So when you swipe on Instagram, you're being shown the top 1% of the top 1%. They all have a six-pack abdominals. Everyone feels inferior. There's pressure. Then that causes a whole host of problems. Eating disorders, people feeling like shit. They don't like the way they look in the mirror. And then they keep looking for information. And then what information they're getting, half of it's wrong, like we were just describing. And so where do we go from there? There's no solution.
I think the issue comes from the misinformation, just the lack of keeping things simple. But, we like to have fad diets, go paleo, go vegan, go whatever it may be.
Yeah.
It's like the reality is the best diet is the one that you can adhere to. And I think we need to let people understand that fitness is a lot more sustainable and easier than people think it is, which is why I make fun of fat people so much, because it really is simple and it comes down to numbers and tracking your calories and being disciplined and going to the gym. This is why I have no sympathy for fat people, because it really is simple.
But that right there is what keeps guys like us out of getting into fitness.
Shouldn't it be the opposite though?
No, one's been told they're a piece of shit.
No, there you go. I was just about to skip ahead. Perfect.
Shaming rarely works, and I'll bring us back to somebody I follow, and I appreciate their content. A guy named Alex Ramosi, he does a value equation, and on the top side of that equation, you have the perceived value of whatever you're trying to achieve, plus the perceived chance of success. So how likely are you to, achieve said result? And on the bottom side of the equation, you divide by time, and you divide by effort. Shaming doesn't work because the value equation is driven by those things. So what I think we need to do on this side of the table is to make those things more accessible. Like you said, providing more value-driven information of like how to achieve a calorie deficit in a more sustainable way. How do you make it so it's not so much time? Because so many people waste time, let's say, doing so much excess cardio where strength training should be the main component. So like that's why I think adding value and decreasing time and decreasing the amount of effort is going to give you guys so much more emphasis or ability to achieve the result and more motivation to achieve said result than being like, oh, you're fat, what the fuck? You know what I mean? So that's just my take on
The
it.
fitness industry overcomplicates it so that they can monetize it. So
is that their fault?
The secret sauce. Well, this is why it's important to acquire knowledge and be able to, whether you go ahead and do your own research. And again, it comes back to doing work. And people get so mad, like, oh, what is this for? Do your research and look at the studies. There's so much fitness studies out there. There's no secrets. It's just discipline and sustainability.
Have you guys ever been confused about how to get in sane shape based on the information that's out there?
Yeah, totally. I would never, ever take advice from you to get that advice or to gain that knowledge because of whatever this disposition it is that you have going on, right?
What's the disposition?
Can you describe it?
I mean,
I think I just get real.
I wouldn't even enable it toxic, but I think it's like you have this perspective about the world around you that I think is kind of really warped, and I don't understand why, and I would like to understand why, and I'm not getting it because you're like, shame is the answer and stuff like that.
It's centuries.
It's not, though. It's why you have so much conflict. It's why we're literally sitting here today having this discussion.
So here's the thing. You operate on what's ideal. I operate on what's real. And the reality is that the world is a much colder and harder place than you think it is, but you want to, people to just understand you and see your perspective and see you as how you see yourself. The reality is the world's never going to see you how you see yourself. They're going to see you on how you display yourself to them. And when you are fat, out of shape, etc., well, people, and if they don't get to know you and talk to you and have a conversation with you, they're going to assume certain things. That's just the world that we live in.
Just to dig a little deeper into that, has something happened to you to confirm that observation that you have?
No, I mean, I just live in objective reality, and objective reality isn't as nice as you think it is.
So you're not drawing from a personal experience?
No, I'm speaking fairly objectively that these are the conversations that people have behind closed doors, but they don't want to say out loud because for fear of cancellation, for fear of coming off as an asshole, etc. I'm just saying how people really feel, but they're scared to say it.
Coming from whether the fitness space can be toxic or not, the shame attitude has kept a lot of people out of it. I've been doing fad diets since I was 12 years old. I was put on Weight Watchers. I did Atkins. I did paleo. I did everything you could possibly imagine. And not until I started following other influencers that were more proactive based on, I want to be around for my daughter for as long as I possibly can be. I want to give my body the function it needs. Like just that basic mind shift. Hey, your life can get a lot better if you do kind of focus on your health a little more. Instead of, you're a fat piece of shit, you need to change. To me, I don't know everyone in the fitness industry, but I know for me personally, it totally changed my relationship with fitness when I started realizing that it was a gross benefit instead of a punishment I had to put onto myself for not being disciplined enough. For people like you to maybe respect me, who, again, we don't know each other in reality. So why am I destroying my life so you will respect me one day?
Well, going to the gym and training isn't going to destroy your life.
And it doesn't
enhance it if anything.
But I'm saying, but yeah, I do that. I'm saying it wasn't until someone told me about those enhancements and kind of approached it with more of an empathetic way of being that it seems attractive to me at all to be a part of it.
Does anyone here respond positively to shame?
No.
I think in some ways, I feel like a lot of us can relate to this. Like when we were younger, I wouldn't say it was shame, but I wasn't necessarily like happy with the way I look, and that kind of motivated me to get into fitness in the first place, right? And we're talking this was like in high school, so I think to some degree, shame that's not put on by others could be helpful, right? It has to be something within yourself that can motivate you.
I'll speak on the same thing too, because the shame that I guess embodied came from myself. So when I was on my weight loss journey and I was like losing weight, the day that I weigh in and like the scale read 1 pound over, like I would take those pills that make you shit, literally, to like lose that extra pound to see. Like, so going back to the toxic situation, that's where I got fucked up because I would do things in response to me not getting that positive stimulus to hurt myself ultimately. Do I have therapy now? Yep. Because it's a double-edged sword for sure.
I think shame is good. I think it's a very natural response to inadequacy, and it tells people that, hey,
of course you do. Rich sense.
It's a good thing because it stimulates you to change and make a better difference most of the time.
But some people don't respond. Like some people, when they get shamed, they get shut down, and now they proceed further into that negative.
Yeah, 100%. I mean, that's literally, I think that is the thing that we've been trying to address this entire video. You don't like obese people, you don't like fat people, okay. They can change. How do you get them to change? Clearly they're telling you, you're a fat ass, you're a fat fuck, you're a piece of shit, you're ugly, you're not worthy of respect, right? Is not working for them. How do you get them to a place of fitness where you give them an encouraging message to get them into shape? And that's what, while I agree with like 92% of the things that Myron Gaines says, that's the thing where I think he's a little off here.
Behavior, because it's not something, as Zach and everybody else was mentioning, that's what's positive to bridge that gap.
That's a part of the masculine journey, is overcoming it.
It's not a talk of masculinity,
and not being a pussy and being like, okay, I'm going to prove you wrong. And this is the thing, it makes or breaks you. Not everyone's going to win. We need winners and we need losers. The losers are the ones that shut down like, oh, I'm sad now. I'm going to continue eating ice cream. Okay, you're a fucking loser. Stay over there. But there's guys that rise up to the challenge and say, you know what, I'm going to do better. I'm going to fucking surpass you. And that's where guys need to be. You need that killer instinct where you use that as fuel. It's up to you how you want to do it.
Is that the goal of the fitness industry, to get people more fit?
Yes. Of course.
That's a blanket goal.
Of course.
And we're saying shame and calling me a piece of shit doesn't motivate me to get more fit.
But we need winners and losers.
No.
We need winners and losers.
The industry,
like, there's going to be inevitably
there's going to
be losers. If you don't respond favorably to shame and bullying, etc., and you don't overcome it, you're effectively a loser.
Let's be clear, though. You just said the right word, fitness industry. It is an industry. It is to make money. It's not necessarily to get people into shape. It's to make money. So, sure, there's going to be junctions along the way. Like, I'm a coach. There has to be tough love. Like, if you're not doing the things you're supposed to be doing, I have to be a little bit harder on you. But that's not going to start your journey, me being like, you're a fat piece of shit. Whereas, like, if we get into it and we're 3 months in and you're not making progress because there's a lot of things you're not doing that we're coaching you on, then of course there's going to be some tough love. There's going to be some extra accountability.
There you go.
But I think there's a difference between accountability and tough love than just like shaming somebody into doing something, because that's not going to create that like long-term ability to obviously achieve it on their own.
100%, man.
Shaming is a component to get people to be accountable.
We all just want to know when shame motivated you to be better.
Me personally? Yeah. I mean, I'm speaking in general here.
No, but don't speak general. Speak for yourself, personally. When
there you go.
Oh, well, here's the thing. I think every man growing up has been shamed to some degree where they're like, you know what, I need to improve this. Whether they grew up skinny.
You go.
Right.
Well, yeah, I mean, I was skinny, right? And then I got picked on. And I was like, okay, I'm either going to let this define me or I'm going to overcome. And I was like, all right, I'm going to go to the gym and start training.
But does it work in any other interpersonal relationship? Like, have your parents ever shamed you, come down on you, made you feel like shit?
Absolutely.
But did you deserve all of it, 100% of it?
Absolutely, they shame me, and I think that's fantastic. And I think that's a part of your parents' job, is to shame you for your fuck-ups.
What about people in abusive relationships with abusive parents who are now in no-contact situations or anything like that? Not me. I love my folks. They're great. Yeah. But, like, just for the TV record, in case they watch it. Like, but I know a lot of people who are like no contact.
Always a line.
So that's all I'm saying is in the in the fitness world, I would rather be with someone who's trying to uplift me, trying to get me to improve, hold me accountable. Tough love, absolutely, I think is important.
Yeah.
There's a total difference between tough love and shame.
Absolutely. Shame is a component of tough love.
Shame is only done with the intent to hurt somebody, not to uplift.
Again, like, there's always it's always meant to be portrayed like there is some sort of debate here. Man, the guys, they're arguing over semantics, right? Oh no, it's shame. No, it's tough love, right? And it's going to be a person by person basis. You're going to have people who will respond kindly to it, and you're going to have people that won't, right? Look, I guarantee you, there's a person struggling with their weight right now. And by the way, don't only think I'm talking about just overweight or obese people. I'm also talking about people that, like myself, who had the opposite problem, who were maybe too thin, who are borderline anorexic, who are trying to bulk up, scrawny, bony-ass motherfuckers, right? Who can't gain the muscle. That's also a component of this. I guarantee you, for every single person right now who is not happy with their body and their physique, that for every one person who will respond kindly to shame, there's probably one or two that won't. That will need to have more of an encouraging message. Tough love is fine. Setting goals. Telling someone, hey, think about all the things you'll be able to accomplish once you lose the weight or gain the muscle mass, right? Think about that hot chick you always wanted to be with. Well, you can get her now. Think about all those other guys that cast you aside and scoffed at you and treated you like a loser. They won't look at you that way then. That is a way better approach to getting someone to achieve their fitness goals than you're a fat piece of shit, in my opinion. But hey, if you disagree, that's totally cool.
We gotta reset.
That's fine.
I would not like to be on the other side. If that's true for you, come forward.
I'm very medium on this.
Oh, here
When
we
I was in
go.
high school, they do your graduation photos, and they had a saying, and my saying was, my worst nightmare would be if I gained 10 pounds of fat. Literally, grade 12, I remember it clear as day. I was already a competitive bodybuilder, and so to imagine being 100 or 200 pounds overweight when I strived my whole life to look kind of like this, I just couldn't imagine it. It would be a nightmare for me.
I agree. From like a health perspective, like being overweight or obese like puts you at a higher risk of developing chronic illnesses, and I think I wouldn't want to be in that position.
You can
And if
tell
I were in that
Tyler's
position, I would do what I can.
he's less in it for like the physique or the aesthetic component. He's more into it for the health reason. You can 100% see that.
Or to get to a healthier weight.
Okay, so I just want to make sure everyone gets to say their piece before I go. I mean, yeah, it's completely unacceptable to be fat as a man. It's completely unacceptable. It's just so many problems with it. I've been fat, I've been skinny, and I've been in shape, and I will pick being in shape every single time. Just like if you have someone that's rich or someone that's poor, they will pick being rich every single time. And the thing is that most fat people, not all, but most, have never even seen their abs. They've never seen what their body's capable of. They've never been actually happy with their physique. And once you get that taste, you're never going to want to go back. And then on top of that, you're going to want to go in and tell, oh, fat is the truth for one's friends with. You need to get in shape. This is awesome. But the reality is we live in this crazy world where we coddle fat people, we coddle idiots, we coddle morons, and we don't hold anybody accountable, and we allow mediocrity to strive in the West. And I think we need to go back to shaming fat people. We need to go back to making fun of them. I mean, if I was president, hell, I'd put all of them in a fat concentration camp so they can concentrate on dieting and exercising, because being fat is completely not acceptable. I'd have these people back in shape, because what people don't also understand is that fat people bring a big burden on the healthcare system. Obesity, diabetes, heart disease, etc. It's a big problem.
Do you really mean that, or are you just saying that?
I'm dead ass. Yeah, if I was president, make me president, I would get rid of the obesity problem like that. I find it interesting that they can lock us up in our homes for almost 2 years saying wear a mask, etc. But then I say, I'm going to lock these dudes up in a concentration camp where we're going to get them healthy food, we're going to get them exercising, and I'm looked at as crazy.
Yeah, I hear what you're saying. I guess there's a distinction between having opinions about how COVID was handled and genuinely believing that all fat people should be in a concentration camp.
Yes, a concentration camp. Let me be clear. I'm talking about a concentration camp where they're concentrating on diet and exercise.
So I wouldn't necessarily want to go from one extreme to another. I also would not want to be spewing out stuff just to hopefully get a viral clip.
So if you could snap your fingers and look like any of us, would you not do it? Like, would it
I
not be worth
probably
it?
choose to look like Tyler. I want to go to a place where it's comfortable and it's healthy all around. I'm not doing things that could negatively impact me in a way to get to a place like that. Like, I've gone through that. I've gone through having eating disorders, from chewing gum and drinking water and starving myself in different ways to achieve something. Like, when I was dancing, my dance teacher blatantly told me, if you don't lose a certain amount of weight, I'm kicking you out of the showcase. So what did I do? I resorted to everything that I could possibly do to cut pounds like crazy. And it wasn't sustainable. It really screwed with me mentally, but I was doing it. And of course, like, in the moment, it sort of felt good, but then I fainted in class one time. And that really, really sucked.
So I feel like he would switch sides if it meant doing it naturally. Like, he's obviously natural, he's natural.
That's what I'm saying.
Obviously not.
I would switch sides if it meant that I could do it in a healthy way. And I mean, obviously, like I expressed it, I'm working on that. And I'm not saying that what you did was wrong. I really applaud the fact that you're saying to people like, hey, this was what my journey was, this is what it took, but I really don't advise that.
Okay, so here's the thing, man. Like, excellence and comfort cannot coexist. If you want to be an anomaly and you want to be the trendsetter, you want to be the top guy, you got to be able to be comfortable being uncomfortable. As far as like weight loss, because you said I'm just saying things to get a viral clip, how would you deal with the obesity problem?
Like I said, pouring life into people. How am I dealing with it? I'm sharing what it's taking.
Explain what pouring life is. Like, what would that actually look like?
As someone who creates content online, I share what it is that I do in the gym. I share my routine. I talk about, like, hey, today was a shit day, but guess what? I pushed past that, and I just benched 405. That's more than I weigh. When I want to hang out with friends, if I know that my schedule does not allot me that time, but I know that I have this time during the gym, I'll tell my friends, like, hey, pull up with me.
So you're inspiring others?
Yes.
Okay. Well, what if I told you at the camp, everyone's exercising together and they're inspiring each other?
But
Same thing.
you approached it at such a negative way. Like, you approached it from a place of shame. And, like, most of us have blatantly told you that shame didn't really work. Shame is what led me to an eating disorder. Shame is what led me to unsustainable weight loss.
Whose fault is that,
what we're looking for is stability.
Whose fault is that you decided to go on a sustainable route with diet?
So if I was given a timeline that I needed to meet, and I'm trying to figure out, without also having the tools to do so the proper way, and I'm just grasping at straws on how I do it, yeah, it's not sustainable.
Yeah, so whose fault is it that they chose an unsustainable route to lose weight? That's your fault.
It's
See,
an
the problem is that you're a
obligation.
professional victim. I don't know if you caught on to this, but you're a professional victim. You constantly blame others for your inadequacies and why you're fat. The reason why you're fat...
I haven't blamed not one person for where I am.
No,
Like, oh.
Tevin did not blame one person, and we're going to have him on in a little bit to discuss all of this, okay?
Well, it's tofu and all this other stuff. The reality is this, man.
Wait,
you eat too much.
I'm
you don't
trying to
exercise
figure out
enough.
where these misconceptions
And that's why,
about me are.
Again, you can say whatever you want to say.
I do want to press on.
I called you out on it, and I said,
want to press on.
Everyone has an excuse for why they're fat.
I think it's really sad.
And they can't take accountability for why they're fat.
Really sad.
We got to pause. Let's bring in our disagreeers.
You guys were arguing so much, I forgot the prompt. What was the prompt again?
I would not like to be on the
I
other
don't want to be on the other side.
Oh, okay.
No, of course I would. I'm a curious person. I have been in much more traditional, like aesthetically pleasing shape in my past, but I've never gotten to like your guys' standards. And of course, I'm curious about anyone's life, like what it's like to walk through their shoes. So I don't see why I wouldn't be.
Yeah, I absolutely chose to, if I could, I'd switch. So when I was my lightest weight, which was 273. I wasn't anywhere near you guys, but I had muscles. I felt really good about myself. And now that I've fallen back, I literally like almost hate life because I got somewhere, got really close, and it was out of reach. And now I'm falling back, and I got to fight again. So if I could, I'd absolutely would switch.
What makes it hard to, like, I don't understand, like, you were 273 feeling great. How did you get back? Like, I'm curious. Curious.
No, absolutely. So
your brain plays tricks on you, man. It does happen. It's not an excuse, but it's a reason.
When I started my weight loss journey, I was very focused, like, I can't take any outside help. Like, I got to do this on my own. I did all the research myself. So my problem was when I would hit plateaus, it hit hard because I'm like, I'm doing what I'm supposed to do. Why not cutting weight? So eventually I hit enough plateaus to where, like, my mentality was just breaking down.
Yeah, no, I mean, I agree with the prompt just saying, like, I probably wouldn't go extreme, like, on your side of the spectrum, so that kind of stuff, but I would like to look like Tyler. Everyone wants to look like Tyler. Tyler is the ideal for me of what I want to look like, but, I mean, I wouldn't be that short, too, but like...
I'm just going to say it, the elephant in the room. Every fat person would want to be in shape. The problem is that they're not willing to do what's required to get in shape, hence why they are fat.
Agreed. But why are they not willing to do what's required, right? That's the thing. He hasn't been able to adequately address that concern. Do they not have the time? Do they work night shift, right? What happens when I went nocturnal for several months on end. Your body craves cheap, shitty, garbage food. Are they working a 10 to 12 hour shift and they now no longer, they got maybe 8 hours of the day to sleep. They got to get some paperwork and bills and shit in order for another couple hours. They still haven't said goodbye to the lady, the wife, the kids, the friends, whatever the case may be. They haven't hung out with them at all. Do they not have the time at all to work out, right? No one is pro-obesity. We're just talking about the reasons why. It's a repetitive thing. And how do you combat those reasons why?
Abundantly clear what you think. Like we've got it. It's a lot. The next prompt is your physique.
He's like, yeah, we know what you think, Myron.
Can you please step forward?
And I don't disagree with what he thinks, but there's components he's leaving out.
Short, in 2018, I got to my heaviest weight, which was 441 pounds, and I was depressed as I'm not gonna cuss, but
you can say it.
I was depressed as fuck, man. Like it was really hard. My weight had built like a cage around my mind, so even things that I knew were good for me, I couldn't even like go for it because my mentality was just so messed up. And it got to the point to where I had someone tell me, like, dude, you're gonna die. And that hurt, you know?
Yeah,
and
your brain almost starts telling you at that point to kill yourself. You know, your brain keeps telling you, I know the same thing with drinking and drugs, right? When you start to sober up, when you start to get clean, your brain will keep telling you, this isn't the right decision, this isn't the right decision. Go back to drinking, go back to partying, go back to doing drugs, right? Don't sober up, don't get clean, don't get healthy. These companies, man, that manufacture this shit, they know what the fuck they're doing. They really do. This is why, nowadays we recoil at the taste of healthy food and we love junk food. They know what they're putting in it. They know how to get us hooked.
And I just flip things around. And I think one thing we haven't mentioned is accountability. I think that's the biggest thing. When I was growing up, my weight was always blamed on someone else. I was like, it's my
there you go.
Too much. And it was like,
see, they're not blaming other people.
But when I finally made that change in my head, I realized that where you're at, given like the ideal circumstances, it is your choice. I am where I'm at now because I made a series of wrong choices and didn't handle myself correctly.
You deserve to be depressed if you're fat. The reality is that depression is a very healthy response to inadequacy. When you're a man, you got to go out there and produce. We're not women where we can just coast on our looks and make it through life. As a man, you must produce.
I gotta cut you off, bro, because no one deserves to be people die from that shit, bro. No one deserves to be depressed.
Let me finish. The reason why you feel depressed and it's a healthy response to you being fat is because it's your body telling you, like, wow, what are you doing? You need to fix this. You're sad because you're not going out there and accomplishing what you're supposed to do. It's your masculine duty to make money, to be successful, to lose weight, to be strong and fit so that you can protect and provide for the people that you love. And when you're not able to do that, you get depressed and you get sad, rightfully so, because you're a fuck up.
Have you experienced depression?
Well, I've had times where I've been sad and stuff, but I always get over it.
So you shouldn't speak on it then.
I think that's very insensitive to people actually have mental health.
Depression most of the time is not real.
That's what come on.
No.
That's
Okay.
The earth is flat.
A lot of
The
time,
earth is flat, too, he
people are
says.
depressed is because of their own inadequacies. You're messing up in
So
something in your life.
Is that an inadequacy?
He doesn't mean in all cases.
No, he's saying it. He's saying like.
He said in most cases.
There's always going to be exceptions, but I'm speaking generally in this context of being fat and why you were depressed. It's because
That wasn't the only reason why I was depressed, but go on.
Okay, but it's a component. You know
Yes,
what I mean?
it was a big component,
It was a
sure.
response to your inadequacy as a man. And the thing is that we live in a meritocracy. I know everyone likes to run around and say, oh, everyone's equal and it's all equality for everyone. No, that's not how the world works. Why the fuck should I be treated equally to someone who's fat, broke, not disciplined, and not as intelligent? It's a competition. Life is a competition.
Where are you getting the notions that people are not disciplined? Where is that coming from?
If you look at depressed guys, etc., look at their life 9 out of 10 times. They're not going to the gym. They're not making the money that they're supposed to be making. They're not where they need to be. Show me a guy that's making money, successful, has a good set of friends around him, has a network, etc., that is depressed. You would rarely find that. Are there exceptions to the rule? Of course. There's always exceptions to the rule. There's always exceptions to the rule. There's always exceptions to the rule. But in general,
That it was just a chemical, right, that it was just a chemical imbalance in their brain that they had no control over. You know, look at Robin Williams, for example. Look at Kurt Cobain. Well, there were other issues with Kurt Cobain. Look at Chris Cornell, lead singer of Soundgarden. Right? Black hole sun, won't you come? Yeah, suicide by hanging. Beautiful voice, man. Guy had the world by the balls. Here. It was asphyxia, but there was something else too. I think he also had like a mental health condition that went along with it.
depressed. When you get depressed, a lot of the times it's because you're a fuck up and it's your body's natural response to you being a fuck up.
Has anyone here ever felt like they didn't have control over their body or their physique?
There's times where I felt like I didn't have the control I wanted, but there was never a point where I'm like, this isn't within my ability to do.
Yeah, I think we all go through stages, especially mental health.
You wish it was easier sometimes, but other than that, it's like, no, of course I'm in control of it. I know I am.
Yeah, nothing's ever black and white.
I've started a fitness journey. I've been smaller, I've been bigger. I used to be a dancer. This, really was what fueled me, hit a depression. I turned to food as, something to comfort me. And I realized that I was spiraling, right? Started working out again, kind of fell off of it. But this year I told myself it was my year of renaissance, right? That I was going to actively make the changes in all aspects of my life, including my health, including what my body looks like and what my body is capable of. And so I've been doing that. Now, did that mean that I was any less of a hard worker? No. I fucking worked 3 jobs. 2 of them that I love, and 1 of them as a survival job to make sure that I'm able to continue doing what I love. So I go to the gym every single day after work. It doesn't matter what time I get off of work. It doesn't matter what things that I have going on after work, I go. But again,
and Tevin's going to be here in a little bit, guys, to talk about all this, to talk about his journey with us, okay?
About not caring about my health and things like that, when that's the complete opposite. I reached out, I got myself a trainer, because I was like, I can't do this alone. And I told them straight up, these are the things that I want you to work on with me. I want to work on building mass, losing weight, but most importantly, consistency. And I feel like all of you guys can agree that that's what it is, right? Am I where I ideally want to be yet? No. But I also learned that I needed to love myself as I am right now and build those tools so that when I get to where I'm going, I can enjoy it that much more because it's a labor of love.
It doesn't have to be a labor of love. Some people who are overweight, are they going to the gym? Are they putting the fork down? Are they doing the things they need to do? If they spent 14 hours a week doing cardio and eating healthy, they would lose the weight. I spend 14 hours a week doing Spanish, even though I am horrible at it, but I'm trying my best. And if everyone else tried their best, we wouldn't see anyone morbidly obese on this planet.
I don't disagree with you at all.
Not
but
necessarily.
I think you said it's like you're spending 14 hours doing.
There are also people, and of course, I'm 20% disagreeing with I think that guy's name was Greg. There are people, some of them due to genetics and ethnic reasons who can't slim down no matter what they do. Right? Pacific Islanders in particular. There we go. See, and some of this is because their bodies aren't necessarily equipped after, thousands of years of isolation from the rest of the world. Living in these small, little isolated tribes, they're not equipped for all the processed food that we eat. That almost 95% of overweight persons age 15 and over in Nauru, Micronesia, Cook Islands, Tonga. I don't know how the fuck you pronounce that. Niue, Fiji, Palau. Percentage of obese persons in Nauru. Oh, wait, hang on. That's 15 and over. I don't know if this is a different... Oh, this is obese. Never mind. Not overweight. So hang on. I'm sorry. This is overweight. This is obese. 61% of Nauru, 55.9% of Cook Islands, 55.3% of Palau, 52.9% of Marshall Islands, 51.6% of Tuvalu, Tonga, 48%, Samoa, 47%. Right? Oh. Strokes have become common among patients in their 20s in Fiji. Life expectancy in Tonga is 71 and has actually been rising. However, up to 40% of the population has type 2 diabetes. Yeah. Tongan Royal, we'll just call him Mr. Tupau. Yes, I do remember that guy. He was a world leader. He was the heaviest ever world leader. He was 440 pounds. Obesity is seen as a sign of wealth in Nauru. 31% of Nauruans are diabetic. Rate is as high as 45% among the 55 to 64-year-old age group. So there you go. I mean, there are some people that just genetically, they can't control it, right? However, over time, we don't know how these folks are going to evolve. But over time, again, doesn't mean that we're throwing our hands up and saying, all right, that's cool. No, we just read all the health implications of it. So
Spanish. For me, I still work out every week. I still prioritize my health, but there are other things in my life that do
eat
take
half
a higher
the calories, and you're going to be very skinny.
But that
guaranteed.
That's the whole thing.
I'm not saying you need to. I'm just saying no one should make excuses.
And that's why I think that's why we all sat down. I totally agree. It's within my, because I've gotten really svelte in my past, but I was at my worst state mentally. Didn't feel good. Wasn't prioritizing the things that meant something to me in my life. My career, my family, my daughter. Health is still super important to me. That's why I still work out, still lift, still do cardio, still hike, still bike, still do all those things. The amount of time I've had to spend in the past to get to that isn't worth it in my daily life. I'd rather spend that time, focusing on that.
Also, would you agree, looking at his physique, he's at a perfectly, I would say, maybe healthy...
We're almost close to wrapping this shit up, guys.
Definitely obese.
I mean, if you count BMI...
I'm not trying to put you down, I'm just being honest.
By a BMI standpoint,
but there's a big difference between this weight and if you gain 200 pounds. But if you gain 200 pounds, I'd be like, why are you doing this to yourself? You know what I mean?
But I would be happy getting 200 pounds. That's kind of what I'm saying. I kind of found like a homeostasis where I'm happy and I feel healthy and I feel active and I feel like I can do what I need to do. All my numbers are in the right place. So I feel good. It's just, it hasn't been a priority for me to go further.
Yeah, you don't need to. It's all about balance.
I was going to say, I was in the same boat as him. I feel like myself, I feel comfortable with where I'm at right now. I've lost 100 pounds. And I can keep going. I can step out doctor says everything's fine with you. You are obese. But I will never forget the doctor told me you're healthy obese, which was blew my mind.
Healthy for being obese.
Yeah, so I needed just one health condition to qualify under health insurance for a weight loss supplement for them. I didn't qualify. I had no high blood pressure, didn't have diabetes, didn't have anything else. So I was like, okay, well, I just want to lose weight because obviously as I get older, it's not going to be like that. But I mean, perfectly, I know I have the control to get where I'm at right now or where I want to be, but I'm pretty happy. So.
Yeah, that's awesome. I feel like what's sustainable is different for everyone, right? I think there's a way to weave in fitness in your life in a sustainable manner that might not encompass you losing a ton of weight. I think people kind of have different stages in life where they're focused on different things, and I think that's something I can completely respect. Yeah. At the end of the day, as long as you know that you have the agency to actually make that change, when the time comes, when you want to do it, I don't see anything wrong with that.
I'm just very curious, out of show of hands, who here feels like after spending time in this space, you feel like you're closer to understanding the other side than when we stepped in the room?
I was surprised.
I understand it less.
we run the risk of it blowing open again, but this was a super interesting discussion. More and more interesting.
He's like, nah, we're done.
Thank you all. Thanks for sharing your perspectives. I think that's a wrap, right?
guys.
Awesome.
Talk to you over there.
Myron, as you can see, he just like walks right off. That was funny. Bye-bye.
Nice meeting you.
Bring it in. So there you guys go. And then Tevin is going to be logging in here on Riverside real quick. I'm not sure if you guys can see this. He's going to be logging in a little bit, and we're just going to be discussing everything that we saw. So, everything that we talked about, right? Is losing weight easy, but what are maybe the things that you don't see behind the curtain when someone is trying to lose weight, right? There's a lot that goes into this issue. Myron, for example, from Fresh and Fit, who is, again, someone who I have a tremendous amount of respect for, lays it out in a certain way, which is quite oversimplified, I do have to say. But other than that, there's things about his perspective I agree with. There's things that Tevin said and his perspective that I agree with. And obviously, those two guys were clearly the ones that were the most on the opposite ends of the spectrum. They were clearly the two who were strongest about their opinions, right? I follow Fresh and Fit quite frequently. I watch, obviously him on Myron Gaines X. I watch Fresh and Fit, the podcast, the After Hours edition with the chicks that they have from Miami, and when they do that live shoot, that live podcast, right? So I'm quite familiar with Myron, but I wanted to specifically have Tevin on to get his side of the story. There are always two sides to every story, anytime, you discuss an issue. So without further ado, he will be joining us here, I believe, momentarily. Hey, there he is. All right, ladies and gentlemen, this is Tevin Evans. How you doing, man? And thank you so much for joining us, by the way. I really appreciate that. I'd love to sit down and, talk to you a little bit about body image, body positivity, what's going on over here, in the United States and around the world.
I'm actually at the gym, so I figured I wouldn't stop home. I'd just come straight to the gym. There's a room that I could be in that's pretty quiet, so here I am.
Oh, man. But that's awesome, though. Even better, like right there, that totally goes into the conversation and everything like that. So that's awesome, dude. I gotta go hit mine, actually, after this. I've been slacking for like the last 2, 3, 4 days. I haven't even touched a weight. So I've written into several of Jubilee Middle Grounds episodes. Heard nothing back. What was the application process like, and what made you want to go on in the first place?
So they reached out to me. They found me through my Instagram, and from there, the casting process was fairly quick. They reached out to me. I replied. They set up a phone call with me. We chatted for a bit, and next thing I knew, I was being flown out to LA.
And overall, when would you say you first became aware of, the whole body positivity movement, body image, stuff like that? I know for me, I was about a teenager. When did that start to hit for you?
I think growing up as a Caribbean kid, I've pretty much been aware of my weight for forever. It's just kind of a thing that, they'll tease you about your weight, but not in like a mean way. But I guess Caribbean adults love a little chubby, fat boy. But it was more so when I was in 3rd, 4th grade that I started to get bullied for my weight. And then that's when it was just oh, this is clearly a bad thing, because kids are just trying to make me feel like shit about it. And so it led to me getting into fights with other kids because I'd pretty much been fairly docile my entire life. I kind of ride the wavelength of let's talk it out first. I'm definitely not one to just jump to fight. You definitely have to get me to that point where I'm riled up and I'm ready to fight with you. And those kids oftentimes did get me to that point. And so I started fighting in school and just sticking up for myself because it's just you get to the point where you're no longer willing to tolerate the BS. It's just not okay.
So, and it's interesting. I totally promise it is relevant. Growing up, I was a huge lover of heavy metal music, rock and roll, EDM, stuff like that, industrial, goth. We would probably be old enough. I don't know exactly how old you are compared to me, but we would both probably be old enough to remember the Columbine shootings. And I remember, I was like 3 months old when that happened, but I remember growing up in the shadows of that.
Yeah.
And the heavy metal community, the goth community, the rock community got so much criticism as a result of that because they thought that, guys that looked like us with our loud music, our screams, our yells, our somewhat aggressive music, which is meant to get that hostility of day-to-day life out, right? They thought that we were promoting violence. Do you guys often feel like in the plus size community, whatever the case may be, that you guys are promoting obesity? How do you plead essentially on that one?
I mean, there's so many like nuances and like just like that entire thing. First of all, like living in America, the quality of food is shit. Like there's no better way to put that. I've been to Europe. I spent, quite a bit of time in the Caribbean as a kid. I mean, I spent quite a bit of time in St. Lucia this past summer. The quality of food is so different from what we get here. Like the way that you feel after you eat is different. Like I could eat some of the same things that I would eat here, and I don't feel that same sluggish feeling and stuff like that. I mean, even like the fast food and the junk food that we have here, the quality of it overseas is so different. Like I've made it a thing, and like people might make fun of me for this, but it's just a thing. Like I grew up in the Caribbean. Like you go and like the KFC in the Caribbean is just so different from what we get here. The KFC here is like disgusting, but the KFC over there is so good. So as I started to travel more outside of just like going to the Caribbean and now visiting European countries and things like that, I was like, oh, I want to try the KFC in the different places that I go. So far I've tried KFC in Spain, England, and Italy. And so I'm just like, if I'm eating those stuff right in here, you know what that's like when you eat that kind of food, like that disgusting feeling you get, like you feel like, I don't know how to, like, it's like a pit in your stomach, like you can't move. You feel like literally disgusting. It's not like that over.
Yep.
Like,
I've been to Spain many times. I've been, many different areas across Europe, Caribbean as well. I can definitely attest the food there is better. It's even interesting. They drink more than we do. They smoke more than we do. Like they still don't have the issues with weight and, chronic diseases and health problems as much as Americans do. I don't understand it at all. It's absolutely crazy, right? There is definitely something in our food. I have definitely just tasted a clear difference between the two. I went to a McDonald's in Spain once. They gave me like a wheat bun or something like that. I was absolutely shocked. I mean, you could get a beer at the McDonald's, so things were definitely different over there, right? You won't find that at a McDonald's here in the United States, especially out here in, middle of nowhere bumfuck Connecticut. But, yeah. We definitely are a sick society. We definitely are a society with a lot of problems here in the United States. That's definitely a given, 100%. I mean, do you often feel like, though, whenever things go haywire in our society, we've got this tendency just to sort of blame something else? Like, for example, it might be the food. It might be big pharma. It might be corporations trying to make a buck and load God knows what into the food, which is making us sicker, which is making our hearts, the arteries around our hearts more clogged, which is causing our weight to go up, which is causing us to, like what happened with your mom and my mom as well, by the way, develop cancer and things like that, right? There might be that issue, but we might be putting a little bit too much stock in targeting the individuals that might be, victims, almost dare I say, of this, than those that might actually be doing the victimization of our society, right? And we might be utilizing people who are struggling with these issues as scapegoats in a sense. I don't know. I wonder if you often feel the same way about that.
so whatever it is that we're eating over here, like most of it cannot legally be sold in these other countries because their food laws do not recognize those things as being edible. as being anything that a human should be consuming. So what does that say about, America, right? And these things are the cheapest things that you can buy, right? So a lot of people aren't thinking like this, right? A lot of people live in food deserts. A lot of people, unfortunately, do not qualify for government assistance to feed their families and stuff like that. So when you're looking at, like, I have $5 to spend until, however long, and I have to make this stretch, and I have myself and my child to feed, $5 20-piece chicken nuggets at McDonald's looks like a fine meal, right? Because you can kind of make that stretch, but the nutritional value is completely depleted. There is no nutritional value in that, and then the caloric intake from that is astronomical. So it's like really like jacked and effed up what we deal with here. And then when you have people that have these medical issues, because obesity is a medical issue, then you're being told that, like, you don't qualify for this, you don't qualify for that. Oh, you don't meet the requirements to, get this type of aid because you're not that far gone yet, right? But then you get to that point of being far gone, and then they're like, oh, wait, you're actually, like, you've surpassed, the realm for, being eligible for this. So actually, we can't treat you because, you're just a little too overweight now. And then it's just like, well, what do I do? Like, I've reached out to you, I've sought help, and I was denied. And now that I'm a fucking whale, you're telling me that I'm ineligible for the health care that I'm looking to receive. But this is America. And supposedly we have it so great here, right? Supposedly that this is the country where you come to where everything is supposed to be better. Everything is supposed to work for you. Yet half of the food that's produced is pretty much, poisonous to us. It contains all sorts of things that are designed to really keep us fat and cause all sorts of health issues. And we're just supposed to rock with it, right?
Right. Doesn't mean that you still can't try your best to get in shape, Right. It's not an excuse, but there is a clear reason, obviously. Despite the environmental factors, do you also feel like there are genetic factors? I essentially have the exact same problem that you and others that were on your side have, but I have a problem with the opposite issue. I have a problem gaining weight. That right there, those were my forearms when I was a little kid. It was bad. Even today at 26, I still have problems gaining muscle mass. It's difficult. So, do you often feel like there could be something genetic that is not necessarily outside of our control, but makes the task more difficult?
I feel a mix of things. Like, do I feel like I low-key got dealt, like, a bad hand in life? To a certain extent, yeah. I'm just like, what was the reason for, like, me being fat? Like, what did this serve me? How does it serve my goals in life, right? And sometimes I think to myself, like, being fat has made me resilient in a way that maybe had I not had this, like, obstacle or this hurdle to face, that I wouldn't have. It's also, like, oddly enough, the thing that has, like, allowed me to have the career that I do have and the reach that I do have. But in the same, like, token, I'm like, this body sometimes feels foreign to me, right? Because this body isn't necessarily what I want. And then, like, for a while, I grappled with, if I lose weight, will I still have access to the things that I have? Will these photographers and these brands still want to work with me? And then I had to get to the point where I'm just like, you know what? F it. F it. Like, what do I have to lose in trying to better myself, right? What do I have to lose in trying to get myself into a better body that is even more aesthetically pleasing to me? Because don't get me wrong, right? I may not be happy with my size, but I definitely find myself attractive. And the people in my DMs find me attractive. And honestly, oddly enough, sometimes the people in my DMs are the very same bodybuilders who are jacked as hell. And, this body of mine is what they're attracted to. Opposites attract. So it's just like, when that conversation and that question was being asked, like, because let's make one thing clear, right? The whole synopsis of this episode was ripped guys versus jacked guys. Can you be attractive at any size? And then things just went off the rails, right? Like things spiraled really quickly and things went left. And that actual question I feel like was very much lost. Because the reality is that attraction is subjective to the person or persons, right? And yes, you can be attractive at any size.
Yeah, I often compare it to this. If you're, let's say you're poor at the moment, because you love your life, you want to make more money, you want to build a change, and you want to be able to live a much better quality of life, right? I felt like what you were saying on that episode was because you love your body, you want to make a change and slim down or bulk up in terms of muscle mass, but it's because you love your body. You have to get to that place of love first. And I think those guys like Myron Gaines, for example, who was sitting on the other side from Fresh and Fit, I think that making money and getting in shape because you already love and care about your life would be something that he would agree with 100%, but you got to get to that place of love first. If you hate your life, why would you make a change in the first place? I at least understood what you were saying there. I thought that was a pretty decent point, to be honest with you. See, this was often something that I've compared, struggling with weight and food addiction with, but it was drug addiction. And I almost wonder if it's one of those things where the chemicals that's in the food, similar to a drug, it just hijacks your dopamine receptors. It just hijacks your mind, right? And some people might be more genetically predisposed than others. So, others might say, well, just lose the weight. And I don't disagree with that, but it might not be that simple for everybody, right? I was wondering if that's often how you felt. I grew up in a small town out in rural Northeast Connecticut, New England, decimated by the opioid epidemic, right? I've had 5 actually close friends of mine growing up die from drug overdoses, from Oxycontin, from heroin, from fentanyl, the fentanyl being laced into our, the Oxycontin supply and things like that, and people so much as touching it and dying. I mean, people I grew up with definitely doing more than touching it, full on using it, right? The just struggles with opioid addiction up where I'm from. Might not be food addiction, but opioid addiction where I'm from is very, very serious, and it kills, and it gets a lot of people hooked. And I've always just wondered the way that drug hijacks your brain to the point where it will not let you go. If food could maybe be, considered the same type of addiction, the same type of thing going on, right?
So that's like a mixed question for me because I feel like to a certain degree, food is a drug in that sense, but then I think there's an emotional aspect to it too. Whereas I think with a drug, you're searching for that high, right? I think food is even worse than that, right? Because it's not just, ooh, fun, high, I'm floating. It's ooh, I don't feel good right now, or I'm bored and I need something to excite me. So let me munch on this. Oh, I just had such a shit day. Let me go get myself some junk food and binge watch whatever it is for hours while I consume all of the junk food that I just bought, right? And then in that moment, it feels like it's fixed. Like when my mom was diagnosed with breast cancer, this is the first time that I really realized that like I had binge eating disorder, right? Because I would go to the cafeteria and I would buy a chicken wrap and I would buy ice cream. And then I would buy like french fries to go with my chicken wrap. And then I would buy drinks and I would buy chips and then I would buy something else, right? And then I would finish that all in one night, right? Because it was easier for me to process eating all of this food rather than dealing with the emotions that I was feeling about my mother's breast cancer diagnosis, right? Because every time I thought about it, I would break out in uncontrollable, sobs. And I live, in a dorm room with two other guys. I can't be in the dorm room wailing all the time. That's pretty fucked. And then the emotional toll that it takes on me to know that, like, I'm so weak, because that's what that felt like, right? I'm so weak that I can't deal with my emotions on my own. I can't process this. I can't talk to my mom about it because I'm trying to be strong for her. So here comes the food. And I'm eating things like crazy. And then this was also during the time, I don't know if like they still do this on college campuses, but like businesses would come on campus and they would hand out free stuff to you. So like there was a coffee company that came on campus and literally gave me cases of their coffee, right? And I like stayed and I drank like half a case by myself one night. I was wired, to say the least, right? And it's just like normally one like cup of coffee or one like drink would do me just fine, right? But then like you're in that fucked up state of mind where it's just like anything that you consume, it doesn't feel like it's filling this black hole. So that was me for, an extended period of my life, right? Thank God my mom is okay. She's, cancer free. She's doing great.
Yeah, my mom also kicked breast cancer. It was stage 1A. It was back, I believe, in 2014. So they caught it very early as well. And
thank God for that.
And I could really identify with a lot of what you were saying there, especially as a young kid. When you get hit with that kind of news, it throws you off balance.
I was trying to fix all my problems with that, kind of just like when I was in a bad place mentally, carried over. It was just like, oh, well, you know what to do. You can just go get food and pig out. And you'll be fine. You'll be happy again. And then that cycle would then repeat itself, right? But then what's even crazier is this was only the flip side to what I was doing before, right? Because when I was in high school, I was starving myself. I was starving myself and I was, doing all of these things because then I noticed I was losing weight. And then I noticed that if I starved myself, I was losing even more weight, right? And then when I would go to my doctor would be like, oh my God, you've lost so much weight. You look amazing. And then that praise, you get addicted to that praise, right? So while I'm depleting one thing, that this praise is like feeding me and it's fueling this monster in another way. And, that didn't stop until like I fainted in my dance class. And this is something that I never like talked about to my parents or anything like that, because I just felt like that's embarrassing and it's kind of not their business. And my dance teacher had no idea that that was going on. And I'm pretty sure if he did know, he would have reported it. But that was that was my own thing. So like, here I am, like, obesity is a disease, it's a problem. But then another part of obesity is having, eating disorders. And these things go hand in hand. So, like, the comparison to drugs, like, drugs is its own thing and it does have an aspect of emotional, like, tethers to it too. But I think the epidemic with food is even worse. I think it's even worse.
And this also very strongly relates to one of the questions in the video that was asked. You remember when I think the overwhelming majority of you guys walked over when the question was asked? I think with the exception of that thinner Asian guy. His name was Tyler, I believe. But the overwhelming majority of you guys walked over when the question, I have abused my body in some way, was asked, including, things like overeating, drinking, drugs, cigarettes, marijuana, whatever the case may be. But I also thought the relationship that a lot of the guys on the other side had with steroids being discussed quite heavily was very interesting. And in a weird way, that could almost be their drug of choice.
But I mean, their drug is different, right? Roids. It's roids. It's roids. So when we talk about two sides of the same coin, right? Here we are, right? I'm on the fat side. My drug is food, right? And you're on the jack side. Your drug is steroids, right? They both cause heart disease. They both wreak havoc on your body. They both shorten your lifespan. And they both really get you fucked up in different ways. One, you've got muscle, you've got mass, you're still huge, right? The other side, you've got mass, you've got fat, you're still huge, right? The body composition looks different, but our bodies still are not designed to be that big naturally, right? And so all of that judgment gets passed on, people looking a certain way. And there's someone that's going to walk down the street and look at someone and sorry for, Eric to catch a stray, but there's somebody that's going to look at Eric and they're going to be like, Eric is way too jacked. What is that? That's so gross. I hear women say those things all the time.
Orange tank top guy, right?
Orange tank top guy. I hear women say that super jacked guys that are that big are unattractive. They rather the guy with the dad bod. They rather the skinny guy. They rather the guy who looks like he goes to the gym twice a week and he just looks healthy. So it's crazy to me. It's crazy. This guy's literally shitting on, people that look like me. And what's even funnier is that this man looks nothing like the lifestyle that he is supposed to be promoting.
You're talking about Myron Gaines from Fresh and Fit, right? The guy that was across from you.
Moron. Oh, I refuse to say his name. I refuse to say his name. I refuse to give that man, any more real attention. People can fill in the blanks and, fill that in, but that's what it is. He's never going to get me to say his name. If you are at this point, beating a dead horse in terms of what your content is doing, being able to monetize your content being your bread and butter of your income, and that's under attack, you're going to grasp at straws or anything to, bring attention back to that.
So the guys on your side and the guys on the other side clearly represented some, very strong opposite views of each other. Was there anything at all that you could think of that the guys on your side and the guys on the other side agreed with?
Sex. Pretty much sex. Yeah. Pretty much everyone was just they don't really have a problem getting laid.
Try living out here in Connecticut. There's no people to get laid with, but it's good for you guys. I know you live in New York. I think, a couple of those guys live in Los Angeles or Miami. So that's because there's people. There's no people out.
Connecticut is dry. I feel like the only thing to do in Connecticut is go roll in some grass, go to the supermarket or the Walmart, maybe Chipotle if you're feeling spicy, and then go to New Haven on a Friday night.
I was just at a Disturbed in 3 Days Grace concert out there, man. Seven Dust. They played too.
right on the money. Like, that video did a number on me, the death threats and all sorts of stuff.
Are you serious?
So many death threats. Yeah. Just because of what I said. I guess, like, people that follow, you know, that individual, they were like, you know, hitting me up, threatening to kill me. Some of them were just like, oh, we could dox you, all sorts of stuff.
That's crazy. I would never do that just for having a different opinion. What?
And then, like, if you go through the comment section, I guess maybe some of the, like, really, really bad comments are gone or, like, they've been filtered down. But yeah, people have lots of nasty things to say about me, like ranging from, oh, he can barely breathe and stuff like that. And what's really funny to me is I was not the one breathing heavy on set, because there's a couple of times, like, I could hear the breath and I would, like, hold my breath for a moment to, like, just, like, check in and see if it was me, and it wasn't. Again, like, there's so many things, and, like, in that moment, that was scary for me, right? That was scary for me because I'm just like, holy fucking shit. Like, what is going on that this guy is breathing that heavy? Like, I feel scared when I, like, feel myself breathing heavy, because I'm just like, holy crap, like, I gotta fix this, right? But then in their eyes, the idea isn't I gotta fix this. The idea is like, I'm gonna keep getting bigger. And it's like, don't get me wrong, like, some of the guys on the other side were, like, pretty cool. Like, Eric, who was in the orange tank top, was really nice. And Eric's someone that I've followed for a few years now, right? So that was also exciting for me to get to meet him in person. And I think he kind of, like, got it, right? He had his opinions on, like, you know, obviously, like, the way that you get there, but he kind of understood that everybody's kind of, like, on a journey all of their own. And so he was pretty cool. But for, you know, the ones that were just like Greg was just so confused and perplexed by all of this. And I was just like, what is there to be confused about? Like, we are literally 4 individuals telling you what our reality is, and you're like, there's no way.
Right. And it's also like, you know, we were just talking about genetics earlier. Maybe not everyone can get to that point. I mean, everyone can try, but at the end of the day, your genetics do tend to rule all.
Or not everybody wanted what Greg had. Because there is a community of people that their goal in life is to gain, right? Some people want to gain muscle mass, some people want to gain fat. And that's not my jurisdiction. I can't speak on the gainer community. I don't really know and understand what that is about. And that's not my domain per se. I just happen to be big. But, you know, everybody has their thing and what it is that they want. So for someone like me who wants to be smaller, who wants the tools, who wants to help, you know, that journey is going to look different. And I mean, I thank God through all of this, like, there are some good things that came out of it. Like, I had a trainer that reached out to me that wants to work with me pro bono. And that's really awesome. Like, literally after we get off of this, I'm going to reach out to him and, like, let him know that I'm here. And today is going to be chest day for me. I'm going to so I set some goals for myself, right? This year is going to be the year that I regain my flexibility. So I've been working on, you know, trying to get back into doing splits. And I'm going to be working on making sure that I'm building up that muscle mass and working on cardio as well. Because those are just some things that I think are important to me. And then the muscle mass is important too, because now that I'm on these weight loss meds, it's important to upkeep with weight training. So I've come a long way since last year, although I've backslid, but I think that there's some good things that came out of it. And I feel like I'm more determined than ever to get myself back into a place. Like I'm still trying to find my groove in the gym. I'm at a new gym. And so I'm still adjusting to what it feels like being here. I do feel like I like being here late nights more, but my work schedule doesn't really work for that because then I feel like crap at work. But when I do come late night, like I feel like I'm in the zone and I'm like locked in and I'm ready to go and I'm having fun and I'm enjoying what I'm doing. And I just want to get back to that point, right? Where I'm enjoying the feeling of like my joints aching a little bit because like I've like pushed myself. You know, that thigh burn when I'm walking that I feel like my legs are noodles and stuff like that.
Hey, Mr. Tevin Evans, aka you guys can find him on social media at Mr. Fat Chuck Bass. That's his name. I got a very, very small channel, very small following. I just started this channel like about 2 or 3 months ago. I think you're literally going to be like my 4th or 5th video on here. But hey, it was very nice sitting down talking with you about body positivity, body image, fitness programs.
Likewise.
Hot button topics here in the United States. Right after this, I too am about to go get my workout done. So, you know, as you said, you're going to do the same. And I wish you the best of luck, man. Once again, thank you so much for being able to sit down with me.
Yeah, you too, bro.
For every hot button issue taking place in the world today, it's important to remember there's 2 sides to every story. That's how we build connections, understanding, and we grow. Topic today was body image. So guys, I myself am about to go downstairs and get in a nice workout. Catch y'all next time.